time? Ain't that some shit?
Look at us. All right.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you didn't say like, hey, we started, so
because I always cut off the first like couple minutes of us just bullshitting.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's
okay,
usually where
cool.
we say the racist stuff. And the sexist.
And the sexist stuff.
All right, well, I guess we should go ahead and get started. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Justin Woods, and welcome once again to the Woodscast. With me, as on the usual, is my, I don't want to say smaller brother, because we're not that tiny, but my younger brother, Shay. Yeah, Shay.
That's accurate.
From the you're not in Bluegrass State. God damn it, you're in Colorado.
Yeah, which is
We
the
still don't know
Centennial
why.
State. Remember, you say it every goddamn
Well, you
week.
still haven't told me why.
I'm just, you're the one that says it. You look it
So
up.
how's Shay doing today?
Pretty good. You know, it's I'm still gainfully unemployed and looking for work. So if there's anyone out there that wants to pay me between $60,000 and $70,000 a year to smoke weed, pet dogs, and watch Netflix all day, shoot the podcast an email, and I'll throw you my resume.
That would be the Woodscast 1776 at gmail.com, and we'll make sure Shay gets that to you. Alrighty, just us today, just Shay and I, classic Woodscast, because we got to drill down on some epic nerdery, and we don't need fucking hangers on for that. We just need to fucking knuckle under and get through this. So I had an outline and it is gone. There it is. Okay. What is today, Shay? Today is the 21st. We're recording this Monday night, January 21st. Waiting for my outline to open up because I forgot to do that. Here we go. So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about, of course, the weekly numbers that I always run down. Fun stuff. We got to drill down on some Ghostbusters 3 news. We are in the 30th day of the Trump shutdown. The media really biffed it this week, so we need to talk about that a little bit. And I've got some This Week in Jows. I'll report on Lou Dobbs for you, Shay. As always, he's always good.
I need to keep him on my radar.
Yep.
Then we're going to take a road trip, and I'm going to shit on his grave.
I'd be down with that. I would be down with that.
Yeah.
He will probably die because he realizes that Middle America is not afraid of brown people like he thinks they should be, or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to accidentally share soda with an immigrant, and he's going to have a heart attack.
He's going to come out of a bathroom and find out it wasn't whites only, and fucking have a heart attack right there.
Just drops dead.
Okay, so the numbers for the week. Shay, would you like to know what the numbers for the week are?
If I didn't, would you not tell me?
I'm not going to tell you because
okay, well, yes, I would love to
listeners
know what
need
the numbers
to
for
know,
the week
Shay.
are.
I know you know the numbers.
Yes, because increasing your knowledge is why people listen to this. Let's do this. Yeah.
All right, so as I said, we're recording this Monday night, 21st January. I'm on my third beer. We are officially 2 years into the Trump administration, Shay. As of today, we are 731 days into the Trump administration. We are 223 days since Donald Trump solved the North Korea nuclear crisis. We got some news on that front. And like I said, we're in the 30th day of the Trump shutdown. By the time this airs, it'll be the 31st day of Trump down. So basically, we've got an entire month of the government shutdown. Gallup has Trump at 37%. That's a slide of like 2.5% since the last time they checked it in December. And 538 has Trump's approval rating at 40%, which is also a 2% slide from the last time they checked it before the last time they checked it. They have a running total, but it was over a 2% slide from when they checked it before the shut.
That's an aggregate, right?
538 does a bunch of them.
Okay.
One of the things I like about 538 is not only is it an aggregate of all the polls, kind of like Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics is a fine aggregate of all the polling sites. It's just all of their op-ed stuff is just, God, whack job, winged up crazy. It's like where Ben Shapiro goes to write about how Donald Trump's going to win a second term. Like I don't think they're fudging the polling numbers, but God damn, the opinion side of that website hurts. The one thing I like about the if you want to bitch about like a media source or a polling, 538 keeps a track of like how accurate they've been in the past. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
I like to use that when somebody like throws up the Daily Caller as like a respectable news source.
And this is just a side note. I've had people ask me this, and I keep forgetting to answer the question on air. But just now, you heard a probably 10 or not even 10-second long silence. Those are the instances when both Justin and I are taking a drink at the same time.
We usually try to time it so that when Shay's talking, I'm drinking. So like right now, you're hearing Justin's voice, and Shay just took a big swig of beer.
Yep. And now you're hearing my voice, and Justin is taking a big swig of beer. It's the system we have, and it works.
That's why our heads are always podcast hurty the next fucking day.
Yep.
Actually, that has a lot to do with fucking rum I drink after I get off of here. Because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to play video games. I'm too drunk for that. But you know what I'm not too drunk for? Rum.
No. Never too drunk for rum.
That's always a good fucking system. Speaking of North Korea, Shay, did you catch this in the news? The North Korea had a delegation that came to the United States. So in June 12th of 2018, Donald Trump, of course, went to where the hell were they? South Korea? Is that where they met?
No. No,
yeah.
it was
Well, they
else.
had a whole delegation, and Donald Trump signed some bullshit agreement with North Korea. Every empty-headed twat on Fox News said that Donald Trump had declared world peace, and we all said, you haven't got Singapore.
Singapore.
And you and I were very skeptical, knowing that they hadn't turned over a single weapon, missile, or ounce of uranium. But Donald Trump was declaring a actual universal victory. This was back when we were doing the Purple Report, and this was kind of a big hang-up for Jay. He really surprised me. I don't know about you, but he was really excited about this. He was full bore for this. You know, he kept saying like, "Well, what if it works out?" And you and I were like, "It's not gonna fucking work out. Like, this isn't gonna happen." And so.
I mean, honestly, I totally get that optimism, because like that would be like, the only reason I say that is because both Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump are such free radicals on the world stage. Like, they're so fucking crazy and outside of how the rest of the world operates. Like, it was one of those things where like, well, okay, no, it's probably not going to work out, but honestly, part of me wouldn't be surprised if somehow it did, just because you know, dumb luck for two big dummies. But I get the optimism. Well, I mean, you know, I wanted it to work out too. I just knew it fucking wouldn't.
We even said like, yeah,
nobody was realistic.
We even
about
said
it, yeah.
like, we absolutely would love for this to work out. We just don't see it ever fucking happening, because Donald Trump is a big dum dum, and Kim Jong Un had such a history of doing this to American presidents. Because I think, what was it? At the time they had the meeting, and Kim Jong Un promised to give up all of his nuclear weapons and totally denuclearize. And Donald Trump accepted his offer, and probably slammed 3 Big Macs and whatever he did on the way home.
Yeah. I'm curious as to how people would react to him now if the first summit had been after 2 years of his bullshit, and after a month of government shutdown, if people would have been less optimistic about it. Because at the time, people were still like, well, it's he's getting used to being the president, blah 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 blah. You never know. He's the great deal maker, and then that ties back into basically, I guess that was Jay a big fan of The Apprentice? Maybe that's why I
don't think so. I really don't think so. I think Jay was just. I think Jay was really just concerned about that whole like area of the planet, and this seemed like a ray of sunshine.
To be fair, if there's going to be any power on this planet that would actually be unbalanced enough to huck a nuke at another country unprovoked, it's
Iran has said a lot of not nice shit about Israel.
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
So, I don't know. But, so...
at least that's my opinion with my extensive foreign policy.
And that's the thing, like, you can watch this shit all day long, and the goalposts not only are moving, but are separated and hid from each other. Kim Jong-un has made a career out of basically threatening his surrounding countries for long enough until the United States or South Korea or China has to legitimately flex to be like, listen, fuckstick, you're not going to huck one of these nukes at Japan just because you're feeling froggy. If it's a matter of $10 billion to shut you up and give us half your nukes, we'll do it. Here you go, So we basically bought half of their program over and over and over again just to keep them in check, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Like, if Donald Trump was going to pull the trigger and actually like solve this problem, he'd be the craziest one to try it. But it didn't work out. Oh well, I guess technically that system has that whole thing hasn't resolved itself. But technically, they still have all their fucking nukes.
Yep. I was told the problem was solved.
They have all their fucking nukes. You and I have an awesome challenge coin from that conference. And they're going to have another meeting in the end of February.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
And just today, they had another story that they had discovered another one of 19 missile sites. So, woohoo! Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing like staying on top of it, fuckers. But.
Yep, that is the, I don't know what it is about Republican presidents and their mission accomplished moments where they're like, hey, it's done. And other people go, no, it's not. And they go,
yeah,
don't worry about it.
And you know what? I can honestly believe a Barack Obama or a George W. Bush will have those moments where you say something and then like walk out of the room and go like, wait a minute, how did I say that? Did I say it that way? Ah, damn it,
Fuck.
Because like George W. Bush says he didn't know anything about the banner, and that could very well be true, but it just still was like like the most god awful fucking framework, And like we're still dealing with, I still deal with people who will tell me that Barack Obama said you didn't build that. I'm like, listen to the whole goddamn quote, you mouth breathing Neanderthal. He said that you didn't build the road up to the business that you own. And they're just like, nope, heard him say it. I'm like, well, I got a lot of stuff Donald Trump said that you don't want to hear about, so fuck off.
What specific? What quote are you talking about? You need to refresh my memory.
There's two that always come up. It's if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. You ever heard that one? Okay. Yep. The other one was you didn't build that, and I want to say that was in the 2012 election. It could have been in 2008, but he was hammered on in the 2012 election. I remember because the full quote from Barack Obama, and I'm paraphrasing for everybody who wants to bitch that I left a they or a we out, but it was you might have a great business, you might have this wonderful company that employs a lot of people, but it doesn't stand alone by itself. There are utilities, there are roads that lead up to that business, and you didn't build those. The community built them.
Yeah, no, right. Which is totally reasonable and also true.
It's what rational people call the motherfucking commons. And that's why reasonable people like yourself and myself would agree to fucking tax rich people more, than you would tax us. Because, yes, Bill Gates does pay more in taxes than you and I do by volume or percentage. Or he doesn't do it by percentage, I'm almost positive. But by volume, he certainly does. But his company also uses up, 16 times more? Whatever he's paying in taxes does not equal how much more his company is using the infrastructure of the United States to make that money. So, there you go. Yeah. And so, but they cut that down to just be like, you didn't build that. And they say, well, yeah, I did, Barack Obama. I built this company myself. And he's like, oh, God, you fucking mouth breather. It's not what I said. And then they say, well, that's not what Donald Trump said. It's like, I heard him say, grab that pussy. So, yeah.
That is true. Tape. It had subtitles.
Okay. So that's where we are with that. Fun stuff. All right, so we're actually going to be a fun stuff heavy podcast today because we got Shay and I, something that's pretty close to Shay and I's heart. But to start off with, I know you've heard the news that we're going to have a second Venom. Venom did very well, and
Venom just shat money out. I mean, like I said, I get it. Like again, I was explaining this to a friend of mine. Like, if you're going to rate the movie from a 1 to a 10, 1 being total shit show, and 10 being awesome. I'm going to say the quality of the movie was like a 3 or a 4, but my enjoyment was a solid 6 or 7. Like, it's not fucking Citizen Kane, but it's a lot of fun. And, especially if it gets shared to you by the internet, then you can really enjoy it guilt-free.
Yeah. Rachel's way of rating movies that we have shared off the internet is, I would have paid for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
I paid for some shitty movies.
I think I win. I think hands down. I would actually like to pose to you a challenge and to anybody listening to a challenge to come up with a movie that they have paid for that was worse than Mortal Engines. I throw that gauntlet down, and
I mean, I got to see Mortal Engines first.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that after you do that.
But this conversation in itself does not lend me to watching Mortal Engines.
Yeah, like I told you, like the whole consuming the smaller city, running around. Shtick happened once, and I was like, really, fuckers?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Venom's going to get a sequel, of course. The news was that it was announced at PG-13, and even though Carnage will be the main villain, for those of you who have not read Venom since they were in middle school, like I have, or Shay has probably dipped into a comic here and there, Venom is, Carnage is the spawn of Venom symbiote, the symbiote species that is on Eddie Brock. They reproduce asexually. They don't have any bond to their offspring. So the setup is the symbiote breaks Eddie Brock out of jail and leaves behind its progeny. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I don't think they think like that, but it just doesn't tell Venom until a couple months later. The symbiote that's named Carnage is bonded to a serial killer and just goes on an absolute killing spree. Like, he shows up at people's houses that he thought had funny names in the phone book and just guts them like pigs. It's pretty graphic. It's pretty hardcore. Carnage is just all over the place. It's like almost a force of nature. So I've had some people concerned that it's going to be PG-13, but like, I know Shay, you and I can totally get behind this. Like,
I mean, the comics are not that. Well,
and they're not that graphic.
I mean, they're violent. They're not that. They're not that graphic. They're violent, but they're not that graphic. I mean, would I like to see a hard R Carnage movie? Yeah. Well, of course, because that would just be fucking great. But that realistically, anyone that cares that's listening, that is never going to happen. Sony has such a shitty track record with their superhero movies. They're not going to do anything like take the risk Fox did with Deadpool and make an R-rated movie, because you got to understand, like, Venom, it's like a $250 or $150 million budget. Fox was okay with doing rated R Deadpool because it was like $50 million or something. It was some really small amount. They, and then I think Ryan Reynolds may have like filled in the gaps with personal finances or whatever, but like, that's just never going to happen from a studio like Sony. It's just not. And honestly, you could get pretty fucking crazy in a PG-13 movie if you wanted to.
Like, there's so many things. Like, you just don't have to show the absolute, like, it's all that stuff where you pan left and you just hear somebody screaming bloody murder as a shadow. A shadow you can clearly see something going on that's not physically possible with a human body. One of my favorite, and one of the things that everybody needs to remember is Venom is the lethal protector. That's his problem. Like, once he realizes he should be the good guy after trying to kill Spider-Man forever, so he's the lethal protector. So his modus operandi is much more violent than Spider-Man's. Like, there's several times in the comic where he has an argument with somebody and just pushes their head through a wall. Like, that's the hero in the story. So imagine what Carnage is, if that's who he's trying to track down and kick his ass, So it's, I don't know, it should be fun. Hopefully by now you've seen Venom. So the end cut, we've got Woody Harrelson as Carnage, and he's wearing that stupid ass wig, that stupid ass red wig at the end.
Yep. Oh man, that was so bad. That little at the end of it, that was not good.
In the first 2.5 minutes of Venom 2, he goes, "Oh yeah, I just wear this to fuck with people."
Hopefully, I mean, whatever. I'll say this: I fucking love Woody Harrelson, so like, I'm all about it. Like, I'll go to see that just to see what he does with the role.
The shit thought that the guy who played Woody in Cheers in that, the mid '80s would turn out to be one of the like go-to actors in the '90s, 2000s, and beyond.
Yeah, well, I mean, that happens with a lot of shit. I mean, that's his character basically makes Zombieland, and he's just great. And there's all that shit with Kingpin and God, a fucking Woody.
I'm about a third of the way through Solo, a Star Wars story, and I know that got like universally panned by everybody. But like, I'm for those of you who have seen the movie, haven't seen it, I'm like still in the train like heist mode. Like, I just got to that part. I watch it at the gym in like 40-minute bursts, but I guess my biggest weakness is I never expect a lot from movies. So like, if it just entertains me for an hour and a half, I don't know that.
I mean, especially if it's just on fucking Netflix or something, whatever. Dude. Whether or not I have to put on pants to consume media is going to affect how I review it.
I really do want to go see this movie Glass, because I did enjoy the other two M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Actually, it looks great. I have not seen Unbreakable or Split.
Those are both solid flicks. Like, Unbreakable.
Yeah, I know.
Split. I was like, I'm always hesitant about the whole multiple personality movie, because
usually it's cliche and it's fucking
they're
stupid.
Done so poorly so many times, and I was like, well, if this is gonna be, when I found out that Glass was the third movie in, oh god, he calls it something weird, like he calls the trilogy something weird. It harkens back to like the first movie. I don't know. I remember. It'll come to me later. But when I realized it was a, And we're back. Okay, well, just I don't want to focus on Glass, but when I found out that it was a trilogy, I went back and watched Split. And it was solid. It was pretty good. It was good. It's a neat premise. Okay, Spider-Man. Okay, so we got Spider-Man Far From Home. Have you seen that trailer?
I have, and all I've got to say is hell yes, Mysterio. The fact that Mysterio is the villain means that any number of crazy things could happen in that. And it also, I guess, I'm not really sure when the timeline of that. So obviously it's got to be after Infinity War, so they brought it back, right?
That's actually the big question. Is it before or after Infinity War? Because it doesn't really, they did that thing where there's no real clue to what's going on. But it can't be during, because Nick Fury got dusted.
Yep, exactly.
Infinity War, so you've got to assume. I would assume it's after, because
I'll tell you what the real key there is what's the release date of this movie. So, Spider-Man Far From Home comes out in July, and the next one comes out in April. So the sequel, Avengers Endgame, comes out in April, and then the Spider-Man movie is July. So my guess is let's just use that and say it happens after they bring Spidey.
There you go.
That's probably the most logical explanation.
So that is also. So the question I have is, what the fuck is the deal with Mysterio? For those of you listening home that I said again have not been reading comics since you were in middle school, I promise you that Shay and I have touched boobs. We do have a relation.
Recently.
Yeah, we do interact with the opposite sex. We don't just read comics. Mysterio is so his backstory is he's a special effects genius and stuntman, and he had transitioned from being the stuntman and the special effects operator in the movie business to being the lead actor, but that never panned out. So he was
wasn't it just he was just like a really shitty actor?
Yeah, it just never landed for him. So he
of course he became a supervillain.
Well, so he decided the best way to make himself to gain notoriety would be to kill a superhero, and he decided to kill Spider-Man because he thought it would be the easiest one to kill in the barrage of superheroes. Yeah, so there's no superpowers involved here. It's all trickery. I believe in the cartoon from the 90s, there's it was all these little cubes that generated.
Yeah, he'd hide in the cartoon, and that's what honestly a lot of people are familiar with. He would hide these little hollow cubes all over the place,
right.
and that was his shtick. I don't remember how he did it in the comics.
Oh, it was just all special effects and woo fuckery. It was Mysterio was never gonna go toe to toe with Spider-Man. He was of course he's a stuntman, so that writes in trained fighter, athletic, blah blah blah. But it was all about just getting Spider-Man out of his element, tricking his spider senses, just messing with him until you could blindside him and kill him. And apparently and I read up on this. There was one story arc where he actually drove Spider-Man insane. By constantly fucking with Spider-Man in this way that he kept he started to hallucinate even without Mysterio around. The question I have for you, Shay, is in the trailer we see Mysterio actually fighting off baddies, or what look to be baddies with green misty force fields.
That's got to be the classic bullshit of he's creating a villain to fight it. That's all that is. That's because he did that in the comics and the TV show. And then there are certain versions of the TV shows, especially where he even comes at it he actually says spells and things to make it look like he's casting spells and he's a magician and shit. Yeah, and not some of the better TV shows, but I imagine it'll be somewhere around that realm. He's gonna it'll be a scene where there's a big ass dragon and everybody thinks something's going on, and Spider-Man's confused because he sees a dragon but his spider sense isn't going off, and then Mysterio flies in and saves the day.
Yeah, it'll be fun. The big thing about Mysterio, which hasn't been, I don't think it's been shown in the preview. Did he show up in the big fishbowl?
Yes, he has the fishbowl. It looks amazing.
Okay. Yeah, so that's his trademark. He wears a big fishbowl helmet. That's a two-way mirror basically, but so he has this very distinct look about him. That other one's
absolutely. Yeah, it's a very brief shot where you can see that he has that. Like, there's scenes in there where it's just Jake Gyllenhaal in the suit, and the suit looks pretty rad. It looks just like
Yeah.
it does in the comic. But there are some scenes in there too where you can see he has a fishbowl on, and it's like it's got like a kind of murky, light. Almost looks like a crystal ball with a light in the center of it.
Shit swirling in there.
Yeah,
It's not,
yeah. I'm actually, as I describe this, I'm just linking you a picture of that. But it's only for a second, the trailer, but it looks really good.
I mean, I'm game. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a. I was never a big Mysterio fan, but I'm game. Let's get some more. Guys in there. The one villain I've always wanted in, because I just loved how he was paired with Spider-Man, was the Scorpion.
Oh yeah, it's a real. I feel like if anybody's gonna do the Scorpion, it's gonna be the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Like, because I know those two Sony movies kept hinting at it, but they never actually got to it.
Yeah.
And then was it the second Spider-Man movie or something where the after credit scene had some prisoner with a scorpion tattoo on his neck, and that was what they were gonna do, but then it turned out to be they just lost shit tons of money on those crappy movies, so it never happened. But yeah, Scorpion's one of my fucking favorite villains. Him or Kraven the Hunter would be a lot of fun.
Kraven, I think they're gonna do a standalone Kraven the Hunter movie, which makes no real sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Well, again, I think that one's a Sony project, so asterisk on that.
But yeah, Scorpion was always a fun villain because he was literally designed and put into the universe or the world to kill Spider-Man. They take Matt Gargan. The reason I'm kind of partial about Matt Gargan is because he held the Venom symbiote for a long time. And, so Matt Gargan, this common thug, criminal, they genetically alter him to be stronger and faster, and than Spider-Man. They give him genetic traits of a scorpion because the scorpion's a natural predator for the spider, and they give him this battle suit that has a large, techno-mechanical, stinger. And it's just,
I never understood what exact air quotes attributes of the Scorpion he ever got, other than just being like real strong and shit. Like I always remember that. Like he just they're just like, oh, he's got attributes of a Scorpion, like night vision, heat vision. I don't fucking know what it was.
I think he had talons on his hands, like he had claws that were on his hands, not in the suit, and he was stronger and faster.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is so much bullshit comic woo fuckery, I can't believe I'm gonna say it, but like that his genetic alterations to the Scorpion allowed him to use that mechanical tail better, or some bullshit.
Something like it's some dumb shit like that.
It's some dumb shit. It's something that you would get 4 8-year-olds together and be like, yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so the last and the biggest thing in the fun stuff that we got to talk about is that we have a Ghostbusters 3 on the horizon, and it's actually apparently going to happen now.
Oh, lordy.
And
lordy.
And let's just hold on.
Cannot stress how excited I am. Don't you tell me to hold on.
Well, let me. I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen and audio.
I mean, what, for the trailer? Fuck that. People can just listen to the thing, just watch it themselves. Go look at the Ghostbusters 2020 teaser. There, I saved you the trouble.
Oh, we're listening to it. I want to hear the sound. I want to hear the.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Well, our sponsors might be upset, but that's okay. Ah, man, that shit. Yeah, that's.
All right, let me hit play and let me tell me if you can hear this. The new Skype is being a pain in my ass.
No, I could never. Anytime you play a video, I could never hear it. No.
No?
Nope.
So this is another setting. Oh well, I'll figure that out later. But yes, it is. Just go to the. Yeah, that's great. That's great radio there, Justin.
Yeah, good. Everyone's on the edge of their seats here, guys.
Yeah. No, I just want to play it. So we can describe. I mean, it's just a teaser. You see this. It starts with the classic eerie Ghostbuster music. You just see a barn off in the distance. It's dark. It's stormy. You start hearing some like weird, like electrical discharges. The inside of the barn lights up. The classic
proton pack.
Yeah, the classic. You know, you hear the proton pack sounds like flicker and like they're booting up and then turning back off, and then there's all this lightning inside the barn, and the camera pans in, and you just see this, you know, tarped shape, which you always see the cars in the barns that are covered by tarps, and the classic eerie Ghostbuster music is playing, ooh, you know, and then finally.
I love that we're taking the time to describe this one.
Yeah.
Somebody could have just watched it.
Right. But at the very end, the part that makes everybody's pants hard, the tarp flies up, and it's Ecto 1.
Yup. That's so good. Like, I mean, you know,
Now, Shay, let's back up a step. Why do we care so much, Shay? Tell
we care
why
about we care about this because, and first and foremost, and you know, and I know there are people out there that disagree with me on this, but the reboot of Ghostbusters that came out a year and a half ago or so was just shitty. It was not a good revitalization of the franchise, especially because two reasons. One, for a lot of people like you and me, this is such an iconic series that if you can't get the original cast playing the original characters to be involved, then just don't do it. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to see that. And there are certain series where that's totally acceptable. It's totally okay to say we don't need to do a reboot. And it's just, you know, and then also the idea of an actual Ghostbusters 3, a direct sequel to the other two films. They've been trying to get this shit done since the 90s. Like, there's been several scripts done. At one point, Seth Rogen was attached to it to help write and direct it. I mean, this thing has been all over the fucking place.
Well, see, that's one of the things. Like, so this one is the reason a lot of people are excited about this because it does have a direct connection to the original Ghostbusters. Jason Reitman.
Reitman? I don't fucking know. It's Ivan Reitman's son. So it's
Jason Reitman. Jason Reitman is the director. He's the son of the original director, Ivan Reitman. Like Shay said, Dan Aykroyd has had this thing in fucking development hell for decades. If you want to hear a great like wrap up of the Ghostbusters, you know, franchise, where it went, this whole trying to get a Ghostbusters 3 thing together, I would have to recommend Wizard and the Bruiser. They've got Ghostbusters Part 1 and 2. They got a 2-parter on this, and they go really deep down. And a lot of people may have heard some of these rumors. You know, Dan Aykroyd has been trying this shit for decades. Bill Murray has been like, fuck no, I'm not doing it. There's a lot of rumors that have gone around for years. Some of them are true, some of them are not. Apparently, you know, Dan Aykroyd sent Bill Murray a script, thinking it would be the script that would get Murray on board, and Murray apparently sent it back to him in shreds, which is apparently didn't happen.
That's not true.
Yeah, you know, there's all these like really fun rumors because these guys are all just iconic comedic actors, and you know, I mean, Bill Murray is just Bill Murray at this point. Like he's eclectic. He does what he wants to. He doesn't have to work ever again if he doesn't want to. So to get Bill Murray on board with something is kind of a magic trick in and of itself. And for years, he said he would do Ghostbusters 3 only if they killed him off in the very beginning. Like he said, first 5 minutes, you got to kill me.
I know one draft of Ghostbusters 3 had it being the premise was hell was boiling over and all the ghosts were like physically like there was just no like there was nowhere to put souls in hell. So when people died, they never went to hell. They just fucking walked around on the earth, did their thing. And Bill Murray had died prior to the film starting, so his ghost haunted the firehouse and basically just bothered the other guys while they were doing their jobs. And then some other company comes in that has nefarious intentions and is like putting the Ghostbusters out of business because they're like using a ghost busting app that you can take a picture of the ghost. And this was all stuff that was floating around in like the mid 2000s, but and I think a lot of that script ended up being made into that Ghostbusters game that was pretty solid, that had the original cast.
Oh, that was fun as shit.
Shit, yeah, it was. This whole thing is so funny because like people like me are so bitter with the reboot because like clearly the people who made it understood how valuable and how much love people had for this franchise, because I mean, like all of the original cast make appearances. They're just not Ghostbusters. They understand why people love it. The script was just shitty and it just wasn't funny. It's
well,
just
and you and I have gone round and round about this. Like, I guess I'm the low bar for film goers everywhere because as long as I'm entertained, I'm not going to be like, well, that's not physically fucking possible or whatever. I'm not going to like try to pull a movie apart just because. Yeah, but like you and I, like we grew up with the original Ghostbusters. Like we had the. Like we still have, like I think you have them at your house. Each of us had a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and each of us had a Slimer, little puppet, hand puppet.
I have
like,
both of those.
Yeah, we had that shit. We grew up with this stuff. It was just It was ubiquitous because I remember when we got a VCR in the house. I think it was when I had fucking chicken pox, and I was going to be at home for an extended period of time. That's when our parents were like, "Well, we should go ahead and get a DVR." Fucking a VCR right now, and like Ghostbusters was one of the movies that they got because Dad liked it too, and so we just watched that shit growing up.
So, I love that shit. And then I remember watching that movie, and when I was, because it came out in what 84, 85.
Yeah.
So I don't remember watching it until I was really like 88, 89.
Right.
One of my I think Mom and Dad took us to see Ghostbusters 2 in the theaters because that's one of my earliest memories. And then and then I remember in my teenage years just literally one day being like, damn, I haven't seen Ghostbusters in fucking forever. And I specifically went to Walmart and bought the DVD copy because this was right when DVDs had started becoming available and we had just gotten a DVD player, watched it, and just fell in love with it all over again.
Oh yeah.
It's so iconic. It's so good. It's so well done because of the way it's written and shot. It ages really well. It doesn't feel dated if you watch it. So to see that reboot and it have it, from a writing standpoint, almost none of the shit that made the original so great.
And that's where you and I keep going around and around. Like each movie is fine as long as you don't compare them together.
Exactly. Like you could make.
The
All the same arguments I've made about the reboot having problems, you could make about Ghostbusters 2 as well.
Fuck yeah.
Because it's not as good. I just enjoy it because of the nostalgia tied into Ghostbusters 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And actually, there are a absolute fuck ton of movies that, when held up to Ghostbusters and its writing, look stupid.
Yeah, no, it's great. The thing I don't understand about this new one is, so we know it's Jason Reitman. Ernie Hudson has tweeted that he's involved. And the other rumor mill is that it stars 2 teenage boys and 2 teenage girls. So it sounds like they're going with one of the scripts that used to float. Like you'd hear rumors about this where you had the Ghostbusters are old and they're fat and they can't do it anymore. So they're training a group like reluctantly, like basically a group of teens are like, we want to be Ghostbusters, train us. And then they go through that, which makes sense.
They're not gonna dig up, Egon.
Harold Ramis is very dead, and I'm really hoping that they don't try some stupid bullshit. I'm hoping because the director Jason Reitman personally knew these guys. He's the original director's son. He knew these guys from when he was a kid. I'm hoping they have enough respect to find some way to write Egon out of it. Even if it's just a line of dialogue about how he passed away, and they hope they never have to bust him, and then you never mention him again.
Oh, no, actually, that would be a really cute way of doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to have some shit like at the end of what was the fucking Star Wars movie, Rogue One, where I have an eerie, weird CG Egon floating around in the movie. That'd be weird. I could, I could see them wanting to go that direction because the actor's dead and it's a movie about ghosts. But I'd really like them just to give me 1 or 2 lines of dialogue about how he died or whatever. Even start the movie off with like a proton, like maybe he's working on a new invention that explodes and kills him, and then they mention it, and that's it. They move on. I don't want to have. I don't want to see
that. You could do that so easily for like you just
Yeah, I'm hoping because a lot of the original.
Venkman or somebody is like yelling at Egon from the kitchen, and he's like, "I'm fine. Yeah, hold on, I'm just gonna finish this thing," and then
boom,
and then Dan Aykroyd walks from the kitchen to the living room, and you see, the back of Egon like working on something on a bench. So you can pick any fucking actor that looks like him from behind, and then there's a flash of light, and they're like, "Well, fuck," And,
the only way I would be okay with them having him represented in the movie is if they kill his character off, and then they're in some sort of and it's cliche, but I would be okay with it because of my feels for the original. If like during the final battle with Gozer or whoever, it looks like they're going to lose and there's nothing they can do. And then without saying a word, this is important, no voice, Egon's ghost does something. It helps. But that's fine. But if they have like a conversation with him, it's going to be stupid because the actor's dead. And again, this is one of the very few licenses that I have such an attachment to. Like, I really want to treat it with respect. Star Trek, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, all the dumb shit I love. I still don't care. I'll see every crappy movie they pump out and be okay with it. But after leaving the Ghostbusters reboot, I was visually upset about it. So I'm really excited for this one. And I'm really hoping they steer super hard into the nostalgia aspect of it, because that's your audience. Yeah. Your audience is people like you and me in their 30s that saw that shit as kids and want to see the same thing again in theaters.
Yeah, we're gonna go to fucking TGI Fridays. We're gonna pound some fucking bruises. We're gonna show up, and you know, kind of on that same same parallel, like the Incredibles 2 came out, and I saw this really fucking cute article on I want to say it was Twitter, of this woman. She like live tweeted her experience, and she says that she was at you know, the Incredibles 2, and this group of about 25-year-olds came just barreling into the theater, drunkard and pissed, wearing like the Incredibles costumes, chanting "Where's my super suit?" And she was like,
so good.
She's like, these guys came to represent. I was like, yeah, and that's that's the kind of thing. Like, if people all in our age group are going to show up, and some I would guarantee you, some are going to show up in fucking you know, Ghostbusters outfits and proton packs, and they're gonna have.
There's a good chance I might do that. Just saying. Wow. Yeah. And apparently, out of curiosity, I've been googling these plushies we have, and they are worth between $60 and $100 because they are considered rare these days, Justin.
Oh,
we're special. Yeah,
wow. Dude. Yeah, so, and like, I totally agree with you. Like, I don't think they need to shoehorn him into it, or one of his kids or something like that. If they're gonna reboot it as these Ghostbusters, who are in their what, 60s and 70s at this point?
Yeah,
like they are not young busters.
No.
So, like,
I mean, Bill Murray is 68.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd is 66. So yeah,
they're in their late 60s. So it'd be great. It'd be you know, right on par for them to be like, hey, we got to train some millennials to do this shit.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good shit you can do with that dynamic. Like, one of the younger trainees could like
take a selfie with a ghost.
Or that's good. Or like do some dumb shit where like he writes an app that takes a picture of the ghost and tells you about it, and then like the older Ghostbusters just get angry because they can't work the phones. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of good jokes you can.
It's got an update. It's got. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Like they're also.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. That's why it's not working.
Yeah.
I don't need the phone to tell me what kind of ghost it is. Like, especially can you imagine?
It's right the fuck there. Just
can you imagine Dan Aykroyd's character Ray being pissed off because he can look at a ghost and tell you about it, but then the kids are ignoring him just to scan it on an app? Like, there's a lot of stuff there. Yeah, it'd be so good.
He's like, guys, it's a class 3, and they're like, hold on, it's got to refresh. Yeah, no, they can do so much with it, and like you said, they don't need to shoehorn Egon in it, but what they do need to do is like
they need to acknowledge him.
Well, when the movie starts, just dedicate it to that one Ghostbuster that's not with us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'd fucking tear up in the movie theater just seeing that.
Yeah, that shit is, you know, and it really does look like they're really steering hard into the nostalgia factor, because I mean, everything about that trailer is just custom tailored to make people like you and me get hard. So like, I got a raging nerd on right now. I heard a proton pack power up. Look at that.
Yeah. And I guess last but not least, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but Leslie Jones, one of the stars of the... Okay, if you Google Ghostbusters 3, the 2016 movie comes up a lot. So
yeah,
there's going to have to be some delineation there. We're going to have to figure that out later. But I think it's going to be the tagline, because Ghostbusters, the 2016 movie, has like answer the call. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, who you going to call, and then says answering the call or something. I think that's the tagline. I think that's going to be how it's delineated. But she is not happy.
No, and I actually have that quote pulled up right here. I'm going to read this. Yeah, so Leslie Jones, she has tweeted about this, and this is her quote about the announcement of the new Ghostbusters is pretty fucking funny. And I quote, "So insulting. Like, fuck us. We didn't count. Like, it's like something Trump would do." And then in Trump voice, "Gotta redo Ghostbusters. Better with men. Will be huge. Those women ain't Ghostbusters. Ugh, so annoying. Such a dick move, and I don't give a fuck. I'm saying something." Like, come on now. You're really going to be that butthurt? Like, the thing that really makes me laugh about that is it's like she's been living in a bubble since that movie came out. You have to know that most of us didn't like that movie. The critics didn't like it. It didn't do well. And basically from the word go, from the very first pictures of them as the Ghostbusters, everybody was shitting on it.
Well,
and no, they weren't
hold on,
shitting on it because they were women.
Let me play devil's advocate here, Shay, and this is actually kind of very, very truthful. The things you just said were correct. It did not make a huge splash in the box office. The writing, like we've talked about, was not as good as the original Ghostbusters. But then again, there are Oscar winners that don't have as good of writing as that movie. So we can throw a stone right through that one. But there was a very prominent and I would say successful online campaign to just shit on that movie from the word go because they were women. And
I would argue that's a vocal minority because
but there were a lot of bots that were set up to just fucking tweet random shit about how it's shitty.
Yeah, I know, and that's that shit.
But that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, and also at the end of the day, that yes, that makes for good headlines. Yes, it's funny for people like you and me who spend time fucking around on internet message boards and Reddit and reading about this shit. But to 95% of the general public, nobody gives a shit. Like all that stuff about it being women, all that nerd outrage, all that fake outrage. I honestly think it fell on mostly deaf ears. Like it just, that sounds like one of those things that got taken by the internet media machine and just spun to be way worse than it really was.
Well, I think yes and no. I think the fact that it did not blow any doors off the water as far as. Well, okay, here are the numbers. It cost $144 million to make. It made $229 million. It made the studio money. It was not a loss leader. So,
no, but if you're looking for true success, that's not the kind of numbers you want to see in a film.
Well, but they didn't lose fucking money.
But they didn't make they didn't print money. The Marvel movies cost $200 million to make, and then they pull in almost $1 billion each. That's what you're looking for.
Well, how many fucking oh god, don't get me started on shitty movies that make money, because you got the whole Fast and Furious thing that just makes people literally breathe out of their mouths.
Now that franchise as a whole, the net is profitable, but they have several of those movies were lost
stinkers.
They have a couple of stinkers and a couple that make much money.
Yeah. So I get that, and but one of the things.
And it's a good thing you don't have any weird porno on here because you're still screen sharing with me.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. There you go. No, I'm not. I'm not checking out the prawn right now. Although I will say, I go to a lot of physics conferences, and there are a lot of Germans that come and present, and I'm just waiting for them to plug their laptop in and see some just fucking weird ass shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's on there. It's on that laptop.
To your earlier point, here's the thing: is okay. So let's it was a concerted effort to shit on it because it was women. I get that. Now, if the movie had been good, if it had been worth seeing, I don't think that would have mattered because word of mouth would have canceled that out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if it had been better written and better, better, I guess, choreographed. I guess we talked about this before. One of my biggest complaints is there was no like in Ghostbusters 1, there was a cohesive message of building up a pathway to let Gozer into our world to be the Destructor, and the 2016 Ghostbusters movie did not have that. It was very all over the place, and it was really hard to nail down what the hell was going on and why people are doing what. And that
I do feel it's yeah, no, you're right. I gotta say this now. I do feel it's important to mention because A, there are people out there that like that film, and B, there's a lot of people that really cared about that movie that worked on it.
Oh yeah,
there is stuff about that film I like. Kate McKinnon is fucking incredible. In fact, honestly, all the actors and actresses associated with it are good. The script just wasn't that great. But there are legitimately funny moments, but those moments are always offset by some stupid shit like when was it Leslie Jones' character has the demon on her back in that club, or when they shoot the giant ghost at the end in the balls, or stuff like that. For every halfway decent joke they've got, which most of the good jokes they have are tied to nostalgia for the original anyway. Like when Dan Aykroyd's the cab driver and he just looks at it and goes, "I'm afraid of no ghost," and he drives away. That's great.
Right.
But yeah, it's all over the map in terms of its quality, and it was just such a bummer to see it treated that way.
Well, like, I'm trying to figure out how to share this. Oh, here, I think I can send it to you. Rachel found this, and this is one of the things that make things. Here you go. I just sent it to you. And one of the reasons that I do have kind of a special place in my heart for that 2016 Ghostbusters movie is because it did mean a lot to a lot of people that aren't big straight white men, Shay. Like representation matters to a lot of fucking people. And one of the things Rachel shared a couple days ago on the 18th was this meet and greet with not Kate McKinnon, the other one. I'm gonna fuck this up. I just sent you the picture. Damn it. How do I not know the names? But she's doing a meet and greet, and Kristen Wiig, thank you. God damn it. But she's doing a meet and greet, and there were two little girls dressed up as Ghostbusters, and there's a little blonde girl, and then there's this little black girl that are both like just so excited to meet Kristen Wiig, and they're in Ghostbuster outfits, and she's shaking hands with the little blonde girl, and the little black girl's in the back, and she just has such a great fucking sense of awe that she just met a female Ghostbuster.
Yeah, and that's great.
You can't like the men's rights activists can just cut their own dicks off and shove them right up their asses because that's just great. I don't give a shit who you are. That's awesome.
And again, all of the men's rights bullshit, all that shit associated with the movie is manufactured bullshit. Like it still sucks. I don't care. Yeah, representation's great. Maybe you should represent a movie that doesn't suck so you can make more than one. Well, it's weird. Like it pisses me off because there's all these social issues that have gotten tied up in it, and the fact of the matter is, it's just a fucking movie. And
well, like what you said, it needs to make more money, and I'm like, well, how much more money is more money? Because it almost doubled its budget. Like that's money. Like I mean, not every movie has to be in fucking Infinity War.
No, but if you want to maintain a successful franchise, like it's just not enough. Like I usually I think once you factor in the marketing budgets and stuff, it didn't double its money. But I mean the Sony pit, this is and to be perfectly honest, it would have been totally okay, and I think this was the plan originally anyway. To make a sequel to the 2016 one. Like if the first one isn't amazing and doesn't work out, that's fine. Try again. You made your money back on it.
Yeah.
But this is another great example of why I don't like Sony Pictures. They make a lot of really shitty decisions. For some reason, they can't come to the guy that made Ghostbusters and the 2016 one and say, okay, there were a few problems. Let's try again. But for years, they just gave Adam Sandler free reign to do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of this
that's
too.
That's very fucking true.
Yeah, like I didn't like that reboot, but I would have absolutely gone and seen a second one if they had made it. So there's something to be said for the fact that Sony wasn't willing to just push forward with it. Because if you just took some of the criticism that because most people that didn't like it are like me, they're like, I didn't like it, but there's things about it I did like. Let's make a sequel and let's see if we can do it better. And they just didn't. They just pulled the fucking plug on it because which that's just how they do shit. But then, well, I mean, how much money did Venom make compared to its budget? That's probably closer to what they're looking for.
I want to say off the top of my head, Venom's budget was like $100 million, but that
150, and then it pulled in like a shit ton. So like
$600 million last time I checked.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's.
Well, I guess on one end, I mean, you and I don't work in the movie industry.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I assume people know we're talking out of our ass, but let's reiterate that fact. Like,
But like, I guess they have to. Infinity War has to make $1 billion to make up for the. I guess the 16 Adam Sandler movies they're going to put out that same year.
I mean, to be fair, I'm using Marvel movies as an example because it's the hyperbolic example to use. They're the exception to the rule. Like, of course, the Infinity War made a shit ton of money because there's 15 or 20 years of movies leading up to that goddamn shit. So that's a little different. But that's what they're looking for. I guarantee you Sony was trying to start like a big-ass Ghostbusters franchise they could springboard.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to see. I mean, like you said, like we've talked about before, this has been in the works for absolutely goddamn decades. I really actually don't believe it until it actually is in theaters because we've been told this since I was
Yeah.
able to drive. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I propose...
Okay, so I want one last topic on this. Okay, so this is the last thing I've been trying to find. So at the end of the day, when you factor in every cost, every expenditure, everything, Sony Pictures lost $70 million on Ghostbusters 2016. They lost around 70 million. So that's why it didn't go forward. They didn't break even on it.
See, now why is that? Like, I guess you're assuming that includes the marketing budget and all that.
Yep,
Like, why is
that's
that
everything.
not just? Why is that not just included in the number that you can Google? Why do you have to? Oh. Well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I mean, this was, to beat a dead horse. This is an article I'm looking at from back in 2016. So it may be a little skewed if you look at it now, because if you look at it now in 2019, you're looking at they're also going to be factoring in things like merchandise and DVD sales.
Yeah, DVD sales.
So that's a little different. But I guess at the end of the day, it lost 70 million. So they're like, well, fuck that.
Yeah, it was. Well, it didn't make the splash they wanted it to. That's basically where it landed there.
Honestly, I would have loved to see Kate McKinnon reprise that role because she was goddamn hysterical.
Well, she's a national treasure.
She's fucking fantastic. Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, I would nominate a break, and then we will come back and discuss how, speaking of media, how awesome the media has done in the last 7 days or so.
I've had to drink whiskey up until this point so we can talk about this. It's going to get my blood pressure up.
All right. That's one of my favorite things is to like drink a lot and then take my blood pressure and be like, oh, look, it's 60/40.
No, that's... You know what? I don't even know. Is that not good?
That's not good. No,
what should my blood pressure be, Justin? I'm not a doctor.
120/80.
Oh, okay, great. Last time I went to the doctor to get a physical, I pounded almost an entire carafe of coffee before I went in, and then she took my blood pressure and was like, your blood pressure's a little high. And I was like, would it make a difference if I had drank an entire carafe of coffee? And she goes, how big? I was like, I don't know, like 8 or 10 cups. She goes, yeah, that's going to make your blood pressure go.
Yeah. One time I was running late for a doctor's appointment at UK, so I kind of jogged across campus while I was drinking a Red Bull.
Fantastic.
And I sat down and they took my blood pressure, and the nurse's comment was, whoa.
Whoa. Did you explain?
Yeah, I did. She's like, all right, we'll do this later then. All right, so let's take a break. We'll come back and raise Shay's blood pressure. Okay, we are back on my second pitcher of beer. Shay, I don't know how many whiskeys Shay's had.
I'm on beer number 3, and I'm about halfway through a pint of Bullet. Oh, or half pint of Bullet, excuse me, half pint.
All right. So the next thing we need to talk about, it's good that we're all lubed up here. We need to talk about the media has pretty much biffed it this week. And for good or bad, we need to discuss it. So the first thing is the BuzzFeed story. Shay, did you follow this one?
Oh yeah, and and I'll say this right up front. Quick question. I saw the statement from special counsel and about how that BuzzFeed reporting wasn't accurate, which doesn't shock me because if anybody had half a brain, they would have Googled the author of that report and seen that he's had some issues in the past. He used to specifically make up sources so that he could pursue hunches that he had, and they didn't pan out. So he's an asshole for doing that. I saw the special counsel statement. They said it was inaccurate. Do we know what is inaccurate about the story?
And that's so let's do a little recap for those of you at home playing along at home that haven't been paying attention to the news and living in a cave. So earlier this week, BuzzFeed came out with a story that said basically that Donald Trump had told Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. It was a little bit fuzzy whether he was candidate Trump or President Trump at the time. It doesn't really matter. Because if you tell somebody to lie on your behalf in the course of a crime, then that is what you call suborning perjury.
That word sounds so official, suborning.
It does.
Dude,
suborning.
If anything comes out of the Trump presidency, my legal vocabulary has at least quadrupled.
Yeah, exactly. Because every other week he's like, Dick tripping over a law he didn't know he should have been following, and then you learn about some new statute. But like I didn't really know. I knew what the emoluments clause was in general. Now I know it frontwards and backwards now.
Yep.
But it came out. BuzzFeed reported that Donald Trump had directed Michael Cohen to lie to Congress, most directly about when they had stopped pursuing the Trump Tower in Moscow. Since in the last couple of weeks, we've learned that they went from we never had a deal to we kind of maybe had a deal to nobody signed anything to there's a letter of intent. Well, if there was a letter, it wasn't signed by Donald Trump. Well, of course, it was signed by Donald Trump. Just the general cascade of woo-fuckery that is associated with this presidency. And so the latest breakdown was that Donald Trump had apparently, according to BuzzFeed, directed Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. Like we just said, that would be called suborning perjury, and that is, just for those of you history buffs listening at home, the first charge of the Nixon impeachment, articles of impeachment. So this is a big thing. Everybody in the political hemisphere said, and I quote, if this is true, then they said a lot of bad shit. So then on... let me get this right. On the 18th, that would have been Friday, right? The special counsel released a very rare statement. Rachel Maddow actually laughed that she wants the gentleman's name is Peter Carr. He's the spokesman for the Mueller investigation. She's joked she wants his job because in the last year and a half he's made like 3 statements.
Yeah,
that's like having to come to work every the first Thursday of every year. So basically this guy's got a great job. But so the full statement that Shay's referring to says BuzzFeed. Let me not stutter over my own tongue here. BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office, the characterization of documents, and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate. So that's where the ambiguity Shay's just saying is, and I've heard so many legal beagles on the shows try to parse it out, but I think you're right, Shay. Like, it's not accurate. What part's not accurate is the fact that you have, and Michael Cohen's already come out and said that that's what happened. Like he has said BuzzFeed is on the right track, but he won't say, and probably can't say, what those articles are.
Yeah, I just because and again, this is one of those stupid ass things that it could be something as simple as you find out. Man, I've almost drank all this whiskey. Anyway, you find out that the BuzzFeed article says they have transcripts or they have emails of
text,
and it's text, or they have a phone call. Or it's not a phone call; it's a secret recording. Like, and honestly, that's the kind of thing that people need to be careful with because, it really could still technically be true. Like, you could have a situation where the way that he told Cohen to lie is not being reported accurately, but he did tell him to lie.
Right.
And
well,
then, if it turns out they have a witness that said that it happened, that's a whole other thing. Because I
do you have any doubt that Donald Trump would tell Michael Cohen to lie on his behalf?
Here's the thing. I don't doubt that he would do it. I doubt that there's concrete proof of it.
All right. Well, okay. And that's the other thing. Like, one of the things that have been, like, spun up, and I would like to have a little sidebar here. So what you just said, is it text or is it email? Is it blah, 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 or is it this? Well,
because in a court of law, that's the kind of detail that matters.
No,
if you say
exactly
if you say it's a text and it's actually an email, and you can't even get those facts straight, that's reasonable doubt. So, like, I could see this just simply being the Mueller, ideally. And this is super optimistic outlook. This is still true, but the Mueller investigation has made this statement because it is technically incorrect, and they don't want it to be an issue when they bring it up in front of the public.
Right. Well, one of the examples of what you just said, which is a great point, like the Mueller investigation does not want to fuck up, and it doesn't leak. It doesn't make statements like this. This is why this was so fucking out of left field. Nobody expected the Mueller investigation to stand and be like, bullshit.
Mueller, I'll be honest with you. I'm still not 100% sure how to say that guy's name.
I think it's Mueller. And I think that
Mueller,
as I keep drinking, I waffle back and forth.
Yeah, because there's also Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which factors my memory a little bit. But
Bueller.
Mueller.
But But I would like to have a little sidebar here, like on your point, whether it's text, email, whatever. I would like to have a little sidebar here to point out that the sitting president of the United States does not email, has never emailed, and doesn't text.
No.
Like, this guy's still fucking sending Sanskrit for all I fucking know.
Yeah, I imagine he's found a way to have carrier pigeons. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it was really frustrating for me because I've spent a couple of like I said, Justin, I don't have a job, so between looking for jobs, watching Doctor Who, and playing Red Dead Redemption 2, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I look at politics stuff, and I have not been able to find anywhere what is not accurate about that statement.
Right. Well,
and I don't think they've said, because it's an ongoing investigation, so why would they tell you what's not right about that?
Well, and one of the things I heard the other day I thought was really poignant. One of the legal beagles on MSNBC was saying that, when Michael Cohen came in for his sentencing statement, there was a letter from the special counsel that basically said, go easy on him.
Yeah.
Because he's helping us out. It didn't say, go easy on him because we already know that he did these crimes. But you got him for these other crimes, so it's all a wash as far as this goes, because you don't admit or say a crime unless it's an indictment. Like, you don't just offhand say so-and-so did a lot of crimes, but you should let those slide because he's helped us out a lot. Or, we know he did these crimes, but you already got him in these crimes. They're kind of the same crimes, so fuck it, right? You just don't say that. You just say he's helped us out. So the fact that the Mueller investigation came out with a statement and said, hey, that's not accurate, just means that, like, the things that BuzzFeed might have said were not accurate, but it doesn't mean they weren't true. And what I keep coming back to was this whole story about Donald Trump using Michael Cohen to pay off 2 women he banged while he was married was totally not true until it was true.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind, man. Like, that's a good point.
Like, how many months did Donald Trump say he didn't know anything about it, and then he said, well, I knew about the payments, but it was after the fact. And then he says, well, yeah, I directed him, but it had nothing to do. I mean, like, there's this, like I said, this cascade of woo-fuckery that happens with this administration. So, like, yeah, BuzzFeed got kicked square in the taint on Friday by the Mueller investigation because they don't make statements like this, and it was weird for them to make the statement. So, like, anything they said carried so much fucking weight. But then again, like Donald Trump said, he didn't bang that porn star and pay her off until it was proven to be actually fucking true. So, you never know.
And let's be clear here. It sounds like we're basically saying that everything in that article is still true. It's just a matter of semantics. It is absolutely possible that article is complete bullshit.
Oh yeah,
this is fucking. Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
BuzzFeed could just be pulling this right out of their ass.
This is fucking BuzzFeed,
right?
And BuzzFeed is not exactly a bastion of journalistic integrity.
BuzzFeed is the definition of hit or miss journalism.
It's super hit or miss. Like, every now and then they grease the wheels just right and they get a good scoop.
Right.
But also, I'd say for every scoop I've seen from them, they've also had one that's been completely bullshit, and that makes me and this is why this gets my blood pressure up. It makes this, and honestly, to be fair, it's kind of good timing because I'm sure the investigation into Donald Trump's shady bullshit is valid. Maybe this story wasn't reported accurately. That does not undermine the validity investigation, which is normally the argument that would be happening in the media right now if Donald Trump had not given that speech about his compromise with Democrats in the House. Right. If that hadn't happened, this is all we'd be talking about. And and from a certain standpoint, it's kind of cool because it doesn't give BuzzFeed any more spotlight than they deserve.
Yeah, they are, just for the record, BuzzFeed is standing beside this story.
They are.
They have said that they have reconfirmed with their sources that the things they reported were true. So there's that.
Yeah, and again, if we're talking an actual in a court, from the way a lawyer looks at it, if I tell you I did something on a Tuesday, no, absolutely not even close, just drunks. But if I tell a lawyer I did this illegal thing on a Tuesday, and then the lawyer finds out it was on a Wednesday, and then somebody publishes a story about it, the first thing that lawyer is going to do is publish a story that says that's not accurate because it could hurt their case. That's something to think about. And the fact that, and this is 100% me paranoia. This is how I see it, as me, Shay, the handsome, super intelligent, super sexy, successful person that I am, is that
just
because
a shade from a superhero.
Yes, exactly. because the special counsel has not specified what's inaccurate about it, I assume some portion of that is true.
Yeah. The thing that made
Because
me
if it was total bullshit, they'd just say this is bullshit.
Yeah, this is all bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would just come out and put the hammer right down. And a lot of people have speculated that the statement was to put the brakes on a story that they knew was somewhat accurate but not correct.
Exactly.
As a whole.
And can you think about that from a perspective with the way the modern media establishment, and I mean, and you know, you and I are guilty of this. We see something funny, we share it on Facebook because we've had a few beers or I've smoked a few bowls, and then I sober up the next day, see my own status update, and I look into it and go, oh, that's not true, God damn it.
Yeah.
But you know, in this modern, it makes sense that they'd want to put the brakes on it because it's just kind of a big fucking deal.
Right. Yeah. They
So
might want to say like, hey, cool your tits. You're in the ballpark, but you're not right about where we know it or why we know it, or blah blah. You know, like we said, the specificities could be off. I like the part that made me giggle was that for the first time since the beginning of time, Sean Hannity and his ilk now like to believe every single fucking thing Robert Mueller has to say.
Mm-hmm. That's been funny. And I think that kind of reminds me, something to keep in mind here is that even though the special counsel's team said that it wasn't accurate, after the story broke, nobody really said much about it. Like, not a lot of people in the GOP talked about it. I think a few days later, Donald Trump finally had maybe said something about it. But it's more or less, it's been pretty mum.
Well,
which to me, that says that like nobody wants to say anything about it because good chunks of the story are true, and they don't want to step in legal dog do.
Well, I think you might be correct. I think Donald Trump and his lawyers might be like, okay, so this is a legal minefield at best. Let's just let this die down. Let's
yeah, exactly. It's best not to talk about it.
Let's do something else. Let's do something else. Let's do a
I mean, to be fair, I bet part of that calculus was like, hey, Donnie, we know that this story came out from Buzzfeed and you're pretty pissed off about it, but you're trying to make this speech about a compromise with Democrats, so you can't get distracted. You can't fucking talk about this. You can't be going off about this. You got to focus on the speech.
Yeah.
You got to go. So, I mean, those two things happen so close together. In the way presidential speeches work, the speech was planned before it was announced. So the fact that story dropped about Buzzfeed and then a couple days later the president decided to give this speech about the compromise is just bad timing.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it is. So it makes it really fucking weird.
Yeah, and I did watch. I made it a point to watch Sean Hannity that night, and like you could tell, Sean Hannity was just wrist thick and rock hard the entire time, because this just played directly into his entire fake news media, that everything that he has not said personally is a lie about Donald Trump, and it was just so great. The story you're going to hear in the next couple days or so is going to be, there's a new report out by one of the media watchdogs that said that the coverage of Donald Trump in 2018 has been 90% negative. And I will point out for the third year in a row, negative is not the same as inaccurate. So
that's true.
When there's a story that says that Donald Trump has claimed victory over the North Korea, nuclear crisis, and then the story goes on to report that while he says that bullshit, they still have all of their nuclear weapons and the capability to maybe hit the U.S. at this point. That is a negative story. That is not a inaccurate story. So, I mean, this has been 3 years, and they're like, everything that you say bad about Donald Trump is just, it's inaccurate. I'm like, no. The fact that he did this thing is a thing. So
yeah, no, that doesn't mean it. Yeah, and again, that ties into, like, people don't look into what they're hearing. That's like when I to put this in a more fat kid perspective, when I go to the store and I buy chicken nuggets, and on the chicken nugget bag it says made with 100% white meat chicken, that does not mean those nuggets are 100% white meat chicken. That means of the 100% of the ingredients, there is 10% of it that is 100% white meat, and then the rest of it is shit that fell on the floor. So, and it's this exact same thing. That's what you're saying. It's that you can literally get degrees in this shit. Like, anytime I hear something on NPR or in even the news sources that I trust, if your gut reaction is that's awesome, you should probably double check it to make sure it's not true. Like almost every time.
If there's an article, like so many of my conservative.
If an article makes you hard, make sure it's accurate. That's
right, exactly. Well, that's what Sean Hannity does not do at all. Because like I have so many conservative friends that will share an article and like, I don't even have to Google that. That's not true. And they're like, well, how do you know? It's like, well, because it's too much in 1,000% alignment with your political views. Like, if there was an article that hit in the New York Times, like as we're doing this podcast, that says that Donald Trump was caught on film fucking a goat because he was bored and out of chicken McNuggets, I would be like,
I would immediately assume it's not true or something.
Yeah, I would assume it's not true because God does not love me that much.
No,
like,
exactly.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way.
I don't believe in the Christian God, but if he's there and he's real, the simple fact that I don't believe in him means he doesn't love me that much. She
certainly does not love me enough to make a video on YouTube about Donald Trump fucking a goat because he was out of chicken McNuggets. Like that would be. Yeah, that's like I would immediately be like, I gotta snubs this shit. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not necessarily true. I'm saying if you read an article about news or politics, and that article makes you go, "Fuck yes, that's what I fucking thought." The fact that last half of that sentence, "That's what I thought."
That's
the fact
pause.
that that's part of your thought process means you should double check it.
Yeah, that should be the pause button right there.
Yeah, exactly. And it may be true, and you may just won out and thrown a dart in the dark and hit the bullseye. But honestly, and this is from a personal perspective, most of the time it's not right. Yeah. A great example is this Buzzfeed article. When that Buzzfeed article dropped, I was like, "That's it. That's fucking awesome." Then I stepped back and said, "Let's wait a week and see what happens." And then like 3 days later, the special counsel process.
Well, and you sent me a message that said, "So he told Cohen a lie," and I said, "Yep." And I believe my message back was like, "Yep. If that's right, it looks like fucking impeachable offense to me or obstruction of justice." I think that's what I said.
And I mean, because it gives me what I want, that gives me pause. So and that's not just that.
In the same vein, if I show up at the same McDonald's and they say, "Hey, all the chicken McNuggets are free," I'm like, "Why?
What's wrong with those McNuggets?"
Yeah, well, what'd you do? What'd you do to the nuggets?
If it's too good to be true, then it probably isn't.
Yeah. All right. Next title up on the media taking it right in the taint. We have this DC confrontation with the Catholic high school kids. Have you followed this at all, Shay?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I did not watch this video until maybe 15 minutes before we started recording. So and it is, I'll just say this right now.
Your hot take.
It is exactly what I thought it was. It is some stupid teenage kid. First of all, the first vibe, and so keep in mind, I've watched this video after it's been floating around on the internet for a few days. I've seen different takes on it.
Full disclosure, there are like 1,500 videos going around. They're all cut and pasted in weird ways.
Yeah, like, if you go back and
Alex Jones right now is saying that he has the raw footage.
He's full of shit.
That tells you anything.
He's full of shit, obviously. Yeah. Wait, what was it? I don't know if you know this, but I have a Roku smart TV, so this came up from. Alex Jones reached a streaming agreement with Roku and made it 2 days before he was banned from Roku streaming network. Anyway, here's the thing.
Had a podcast learning that, so.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, just a point of pride, we're on all the media outlets he is not allowed on, so there you go.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That shows you how hard it is, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to not be a crazy racist that says child massacres are fake, and you too can be a podcast star.
On YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever you fucking
throw that shit out. Doesn't matter. This video is exactly what I figured it would be. My instinct, right at the start, is it's a bunch of dumbass teenagers that knew wearing Trump MAGA hats would piss people off and get them on the internet and make them famous. So that's what they fucking did. If you haven't watched the video and you've read the coverage, you would think this kid hit the dude in the face with a brick. But he literally just stands there. There's no interaction between the two.
Well, and a lot of the other sides of that is that I've had people message me directly saying he banged a drum on the other side of that coin. He banged the drum in that kid's face. What else was he supposed to do? Like, I'm like, wait, I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's the thing. And this is, I was actually, when I was driving back from the liquor
Finish your
store.
hot take, and I'll say what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. When I was driving back from the liquor store to
Yeah,
get my
I love
supplies
how
for the
that's ours.
podcast,
I love how that's
um,
our this
I was
story
thinking
starts.
about this.
Yeah.
And because, so basically, so I guess what I said was that
Deep
was fake
thoughts
news. What I
from
said,
the liquor store.
I watched the video, then I drove to the liquor store, and then I came back to record the podcast. So, um, and this was the thought I had, and this is an extremely hyperbolic example. I'm not making a one-to-one equation between Donald Trump and Nazis, but this is the thing. If you showed up to a bar mitzvah with a Nazi armband, all the people at that party would kind of puff their chest and say, okay, this guy's a dick. He's here to start trouble. That's exactly what happened. You cannot argue to me that a MAGA hat is a controversial symbol. Those kids showed up.
Isn't?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is. You're not going to wear a MAGA hat to a Native American protest or a Women's March protest without the intent of pissing somebody off. There's just no that's just logic. Like that makes like the argument again, the argument I've heard on the right is you can clearly see that the Native American protester in the video is getting in the kid's face and he's puffing up and he started it, whatever. Never mind that I'm using started it in air quotes because the kid literally just stood there with him face to face. Given the fact that a few years ago a woman got run over and murdered with a car in Charlottesville, this is pretty fucking tame. So people need to calm the fuck down about this video.
Well, also, when that woman was murdered in Charlottesville, they said that was just an accident.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, whatever, bullshit. But
for those of you listening that we're also in a cave, during the 2017 Charlottesville rallies in Charlottesville, Virginia, a white supremacist got in his car, drove into a crowd of anti-white nationalist protesters, Antifada, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Drove into that crowd, sandwiched a young woman, I believe she was 32, against the car. She died on the scene. He reversed out and was eventually chased down and arrested by police. He has since then been he was convicted for something like 117 hate crimes.
Oh, yeah.
Something stupid. He's
going to die getting forever. Jail. That's good for him. But I mean, and again, I'm not saying this.
I will never say his name on this podcast,
Nope.
and I know it off the top of my head. So fuck that guy, and welcome to prison.
Yeah, but like, I'm not trying to make. I'm using examples. I'm not saying this is the same situation. My point is what I saw in that video was a bunch of dumbass teenagers that may or may not have actually agreed with the ideas represented by the MAGA hat. They threw the hats on. They went to this protest because they really believe in the political ideals. Maybe they just thought it'd be funny and they'd end up being YouTube celebrities. But when those kids walk into that scenario, the only logical reaction, if you pay any attention to the political climate of this country right now, is the reaction that guy had, which is to not back down and to get in their face. Neither one of them threw punches. Neither one of them threw verbal insults. It was actually pretty fucking tame, which is why I was honestly disappointed when I saw the video. I was like, this is clearly just some teenage dumbass kid and some guy who's been around for a while who knows why they showed up. He's like, these kids just showed up to ruffle people's feathers and become famous on the internet. That's what they were there for. Like, I refuse to believe these Now, the problem I have is the people that allowed them to be there.
Right. Let's be very clear. That sentence you just said dovetails right into what I was unartfully going to interrupt you to say, is that let's remember that this kid that went to this kid was, in my opinion, he was at a rally to deny women the rights to their own bodies.
That's the thing that keeps getting lost. That's what the rally was originally.
Yeah, so he was at the rights for the Right for Life rally, which is a rally in support of denying women rights to their own bodies, wearing a MAGA hat. What the fuck did people think was going to happen? Like
exactly.
This in my book, these people aren't princes, so that's already a check mark. So
I wouldn't even be surprised if because aren't these were kids from a school, right? It was a school trip.
These kids were from it's called Covington Catholic High School. It's northern Kentucky. It's an all male Catholic school. I read online that the tuition to this private school was about $10,000. That's what I read online. Don't hold me to that. Of course that shit probably varies year to year, but that's what I saw. That's one of the quotes I saw online. Their website, believe it or not, Shay, is down as of today. Yeah, imagine that. I kind of had the same hot take that you did. So we see this, and the original videos that were showed were this kid. His last name is Sandman, which sidebar, that's an awesome fucking last name.
Wait, Sandman?
Sandman.
Like Sandman.
Two N's, but yeah.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah, it's badass as fuck. So if this kid's nickname isn't just Sandman, he fucking is dumber than I thought. But I don't know. While I'm talking, Shay, can you Google his first name? I want to say it's Kevin, but I don't have it here in front of me. But the hot take I had was that the original videos that were showed were the clip of this I want to say Kevin Sandman. Shay can correct me. This young Covington high school kid face to face with Nick Sandman face to face with Nathan Phillips, who is the Vietnam veteran. He's a member of a Native American tribe. They were there for the Indigenous Peoples March. They were face to face. He looked very antagonistic. He was staring him right in the face. He was just smirking. He had a very punchable face. All the kids around him were clearly mocking the Native Americans. They were doing the
that was very clear. They were
Seminole chant. They were doing doing every type of Native American stereotype you can think of. And that was the original clip that was showed. I saw that clip and I thought, well, these are just some entitled little shits. Fuck these kids.
Yeah, they're just dipshit kids. That's what it is. They're fucking ass.
They're dipshit kids, and the fact that he's wearing a MAG hat, of course, like I said, doesn't win him any points in my book. The fact that they were at the Right for Life rally to do this, again, doesn't win them any points in my book. They're just some entitled dipshits that thought that they could stare down some people that were, quote unquote, below them because of their, differences in races. So then everybody's like, well, when you see the full story, you'll understand. Well, yeah, so you see the full story, and the picture I see is basically the picture that Nathan Phillips, like I said, Vietnam veteran, member of the Indigenous Peoples March, said. He said there were 4 Muslim protesters at the Women's March, and these kids started interacting with them. The interactions became more intricate. The kids started to surround these 4 Muslim protesters, and Nathan Phillips saw this interaction happening and decided to get between the 2 groups and try to defuse it. That clearly didn't work, because once he got between the 2 groups, the kids from Covington Catholic High School surrounded the indigenous marchers, and that's where the video picks up that almost everybody saw at first. So all the Native Americans singing and doing their song, trying to go to the Lincoln Memorial, the kids surrounding them, doing all the disrespectful chants and hoots and hollers and whatnot. And I was told immediately that I was apparently a bigot of some sort because I didn't watch the all of the 1,500 some fucking videos that have been put up there since then. But if you watch the full video, what you see is the Covington kids interact with the quote unquote Muslim protesters. There were 4 black. I think they wanted to be called Black Israelites. I don't know how that shakes out, but whatever. You can call yourself whatever you want. Call yourself a fish for all I care. But they started to interact with those kids. Now, I have it from several friends. I haven't seen this part of the video yet because I kind of skipped through the long part of the video and to try to catch up. I've watched so many fucking videos in the last 3 days that I'm actually really tired of fucking watching this. But apparently there's parts where the kids taunt these black Muslim protesters and with gorilla hoots and gorilla pantomimes. So put an asterisk beside that. I had a friend tell me that totally happened, and I asked him to send me the link and where in the video he saw that. I'll follow up. But once you I'm of the my hot take is I believe Nathan Phillips. I believe that he tried to get in between these 2 groups to kind of diffuse the situation. It didn't diffuse. If you look, you can watch the whole 2 or 3 hour video. You can watch 15 hours of video if you want to. At the end of it, I see a lot of very entitled little shits surrounding Native Americans, hooting and hollering and making sounds and gestures that our father would have yanked our testicles through our nostrils if he ever saw us do. Like,
Yeah.
That's what I saw. And
Yeah, no, it's very clearly spoiled shits being spoiled
yeah,
little shit.
my hot take was they were entitled little shits. When I saw the 3-hour long video, my opinion was still that they're entitled little shits.
Yeah.
And there you go. What's really fucking entertained me in the last couple days is all of the people that have really like flexed up against me to like apologize to these kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And my entire stance has changed from like, you know what, fuck these little kids. You know, fuck them all, fuck them raw. I don't give a shit. Like, you know, the seas could rise and they could all drown. I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep, whatever. And to like, I'm supposed to apologize to them?
No.
How the fuck do you figure that out?
Yeah, fuck those guys. I mean, if you just step back and you look at the expression on those kids' faces, like, it is very clear that they are there just to stir the bucket. They're smiling. They know they're being filmed. They're doing what teenagers do. They're being dicks. Like it's so stereotypical. It reminds, you know what it reminds me of is those when new video game consoles launches. They did this for the past 2 PlayStations and Xboxes. This video always comes up. There's a video of people in line at Best Buy, and then some kid goes in and buys a PlayStation or whatever it is, and walks out in front of the people in line waiting to buy it, and smashes the console to piss the people off. They knew just standing there with MAGA hats was going to cause a problem, and they're laughing about it, and that's all it was. They're just being dicks.
Well, and also, it's like there were 2 statements that were released. Like, you know, Nathan Phillips gave his statement that he, you know, of his statement of the encounter, and then this Nick Sandman, awesome name by the way. I can't get over how awesome that name is. This Nick Sandman apparently released his own statement. And everybody fucking like messaged me that statement and, you know, shared it all over Facebook. And my only question, not trying to be a cock or anything, I was like, so why should I believe this kid over this guy?
Yeah.
Like, why is his, because the way that it was played out was, you know, Nathan Phillip was interviewed by several outlets. I believe the Chicago Tribune was the one that got the most quotes from him. He was like, hey, I saw this interaction, saw it was going to go south, decided to get in the middle of it. Second I got in the middle of it to defuse it, I saw it wasn't really diffusing it. These kids were just amped up and now focused on me, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can read his quotes. Read that statement. Then you read the statement from this Nick Sandman that's like, you know, it's like a 2-page letter. And I read it, and everybody's sharing it. Like, oh, see, there we go. Everybody owes them an apology. It was like, wait 1 fucking minute. Why is this statement suddenly gospel, and this guy's statement is bullshit? And
yeah,
like, well,
and the question I would throw out there is like, why should I care what this kid says? Sit the kid down. This is the question I want somebody to ask him. What did you think you would accomplish by showing up to a march with that hat on? Same thing to him and his friends. Because
a pro-life hat. A pro-life
yeah,
march.
you know, and I get, you know, you could make the argument of saying like, well, I'm going to be I'm there to represent my political viewpoint. No, go fuck yourself. Your political viewpoint is control the government for 2 years and is in the White House. Like, no, everybody knows what your viewpoint is. What did you hope to accomplish? I'm not saying what did you want to express. What opinion did you want to express? Why did you go there? And and you know, whatever answer he would give is going to be what you'd expect. And I still think that the answer is, I thought it would make me famous. And guess what? It did. For at least a week or 2.
Well, see, and this is my point. I think that whatever his, you know, he's a junior in high school. I think that.
How actually old is this kid? So he's a junior. He's what, 16,
I've
17?
heard 16 or 17. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 18. 17. Not quite 17.
I would say he's 18.
Yeah.
So, if you watch the videos, watch the 3-hour video, watch the 3-minute video. I don't really give a shit which one you watch. But at the end of it, you see this kid with not a smile. He said he smiled at the Native American protester, and nobody around him did anything but their cheer and spirit cheers for high school. Bullshit. that was clearly mocking the Native Americans for
Yup.
several minutes of that video. And he did not smile. Like, one person on, I think, Twitter said, when you smile, you show teeth. You were just smirking like a little shit.
That was
like,
a smirk. That's all that was. That was a fucking
he was smirk.
That's what that was.
So, in Justin Woods' personal opinion, I think that this kid, in the moment, in that very moment, thought, this is my MAGA moment. This is my, I'm going to go viral on YouTube and InfoWars and all these other, WorldNet Daily, The Blaze. This is my MAGA moment. I believe in this president and this president's beliefs, and I'm going to stand and just let this Native American...
This is how I get Donald Trump to notice me.
Yeah, some bullshit like that, right? Like, this was going to be his moment to show that he's, like, got MAGA nuts or something. And then the next day, the videos were not as kind as he thought they were. Because if you'll notice in the video, every single fucking one of his friends is filming this shit.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Dude,
like,
I
there are
guarantee
1,600 cameras on this little kid by that point. And,
yo, guys,
like,
let's throw some MAGA hats on and go to this protest. It's going to be fucking funny.
And that's fun. That's your prerogative. But you know what your prerogative isn't? To just fucking tell everybody they've got to apologize to you after they call you a racist. Like, no. There's nothing in the Constitution that says I, A, have to support this kid, B, have to be nice to this kid, or C, have to respect this kid whatsoever, because he's, like I said, he's already showed up for an institution and a function that I don't agree with. So fuck a bunch of this kid. And like that's the thing that entertained me the most in the last couple of days, Shay, is like all the people that have like flexed on me to like apologize, or like they tell me I've got to do more research to understand the situation. I was like, no, I saw the kid. They looked like little shits. I saw the longer video. Still looked like little shits. What do you got?
I just don't get it, because like it's so. If you've ever and God, I feel fucking old talking about this, but if you're a grown ass adult and you've ever interacted with anyone between the ages of 15 and pretty much fucking 20, they're dicks.
Yeah.
They're like when you're a teenager, you're a dick. Justin, you knew me when I was 15. How awesome was I?
You were bad.
Yeah, exactly. So like this, it's fucking. It's just so clear from the. It's so clear from the expression on that kid's face when he stands there. He thinks it's funny, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows he's being filmed, and he knows he's going to be famous.
The difference between you and me when you were a teenager was our interactions were you thinking you were big shit, and me being very aware you were not big shit yet. Then you needed to calm your jets.
Yeah,
and you going,
and that's true for any fucking person at that age.
Right, like you just. I guess actually that's a fantastic question. If this kid has an older brother or older sister.
That'd be interesting. I would love to know what they think.
Because, like, Shay, not to get into our personal relationship too much, but I remember you being about 16, 17 and thinking you were just going to kill everybody in the world because you were big and you had gotten some weight on you at that point. And I remember telling you, like, you better be ready. I'll hit you with this chair. I don't give a shit. Like, you want to talk some smack? We'll throw down, and I'll hit you with a chair, because I'm not in to win this, like, fucking Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. This is not gonna be a fair fight. I'll hit you with a goddamn chair. And you're like, okay, well that doesn't sound fun, like at that age you need somebody to check your shit. And if he did, that's a great question. Like, I would love to hear if he had an older sister or brother. I would actually love it if he had an older sister who just beat the fuck out of him after this happened. That'd be fun. Yeah,
it's interesting. Have there been any statements from the guy with the drum? I know his last name is Phillips. I don't know what his first name is.
His first name is Nathan Phillips.
Nathan Phillips. Has there been any statements from him on his side of things, or has he just basically been like, I'm not getting in on this?
No, he basically gave his side of it. He said that he basically didn't want to. He thought he was going to defuse the situation, but clearly he didn't.
No.
And he kind of felt bad, but like he understands that this kid. His basically comment was like, I just wanted to go to I just wanted to go to the Lincoln Memorial, and this kid got in my way, and he didn't want to move, and I didn't want to push through him, and it was, they were clearly rude once, this happened. It like kind of what I described before. He decided to get between the Catholic school kids and the, the quote-unquote black Muslims. We also haven't talked about the fact that the Nick Sandman's mom, I just sent you a link. It'll be fun to talk about, too. Nick Sandman's mom apparently contacted, I can't find the link, but she contacted a news outlet to say that, her son was goaded by the quote-unquote black Muslims that I keep bringing up. And then once the news article informed her that her comments, she was doing this through email, and once they informed her that her comments would be published, she said, delete this. If you publish this, I'll sue you, and called them fake news. So his mom was the first person that brought up black Muslims.
And then, am I to assume that he is? Oh wow, wow! This picture is racist as fuck. That has not been acceptable since like the fucking 1900s.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God!
So what I just sent Shay was
holy shit!
What I just sent Shay was a Snopes article from, let me see, we got a date on this. The picture, the image, now, by the time we release this podcast, this image will have floated all around, because I pulled this off Facebook. But this image was, apparently, no, this says 2000, this says a YouTube 2018 video entitled Colonial Crazies Compilation Video. So this in different sourcing, I've seen that this. Here we go. This is a 2015 photo, and what it is the quote unquote spirit side or the spirit source of the Covington High School. They dress in all black and they cheer, and they have a bunch of cheers. And what they do is if anybody can, this is their basketball team. This is for basketball games. So anytime a player has to inbound near them, they will literally come off the stands and get 6 to 10 inches away from the guy who's supposed to, inbound. We're looking at a YouTube video. Oh, they got the YouTube video right here. Yeah,
I gotta throw this out there. Justin is saying they're dressed in all black, but that doesn't really describe it. What you've got here is
I haven't
almost
gotten there yet.
Yeah, I was saying this is classic blackface, basically.
Yeah. So you got students dressed in all black. They are dressed in all black, and the image that you're going to see on the Facey Spaces in the My Book in the coming days is a black player. He's a black player from an opposing team wearing a red jersey. There are several kids, I would say within inches from him, yelling in his face. He's getting ready to be handed the ball to inbound in a basketball game. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 students that I can see in this image that are covered head to toe in black. And that includes their face, and that is blackface.
They are shirtless, and they have painted themselves black with white and red outlines around their lips and eyes, which is just classic blackface. Which
that's classic blackface.
I will give to this argument. They are kids. Maybe they don't know that blackface is racist. Let's push that aside and let's say this: blackface is racist.
Yeah, no, okay. So here's the thing. When I originally saw this, and everybody can go to Snopes and Google this shit. This is a December 15th. This is apparently when this was taken. This school has a long history of doing this shit. I don't think it's great. This is not their school colors. This is kind of like I've actually been talking to some of my fraternity brothers about this today. Like, it's much like when Marshall does a blackout or a blackout. Like, black is not Marshall's colors, but they want everybody to wear black to become some kind of hype thing. Okay, let's just say that they did a blackout of the student section for this high school basketball game. They should know not to fucking color your face black. Like, that's just that falls under the rule of white people should never paint their faces black ever. Period. End of story.
Yeah, I mean,
first of all, the kid that has the big the big smiley face painted in around like, that kid. That's just fucking racist.
Here's the thing, though. And I can't. I'm drunk, and it's fun to fuck at this. And the thing is like, dude, even if the intention is not racist, like this is in such poor taste, it would take someone with their like. It's amazing the school administrators would let them still do this because of the history associated with blackface. But it does. But the reason I bring this up, it does bear to mention. That as far as the school's concerned, and according to the comments on the message board where that photo we're discussing was originally posted, the black paint is not racial, but is insisted to be a school tradition related to blackout games during which fans wore black to support the team. Exactly. So that is something I gotta say that. But yeah.
But why would you even, like, come on now. Like, yeah,
and this is funny. One of the other comments from that same thread where that photo originated was the guy on the right looks like he might have been researching minstrelly before the game. And for anyone that doesn't know, that was where you would have this was way back in the day when you would have roving theater groups that would have stories about black characters, but they were played by white people in blackface, which the dude on the right of this photograph, if you kill or Google it, that's what it looks like he's doing. That's the one that really... Yeah, so, I mean...
And to those of you who are much younger than Shay and I, and maybe have never understood why blackface is such a problem, the reason blackface is such a problem is because blackface was used by white actors to portray black pickaninny or the classic, happy, house Negro on the plantation. They were almost universally done by white actors dressed up. Blackface was applied to them to play black characters because, of course, in the 20s, 1900s, 1920s, you could not allow a black actor on the stage. That was just not a thing. And even after we had come to some kind of realization that black people were people, I know, fucking shocking. Once we had come to the realization that black people were people, there was still an era where black performers on stage still wore fucking blackface because that made them fit into what the white audience saw as black people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. The more I look at this,
how the fuck can you know any of that and do that? Period. End of story. That's all I gotta say.
That's I'd say it is in poor taste, but and again, this time, like, as much as I laughed about this photo when it first pulled up, again, it just looks like a bunch of fucking kids being jackasses to me. I don't see the big deal at the end of the day, like. The context is bad.
Should any of these kids be kicked out of whatever they're doing right now?
No.
Should the school administrator said, okay, yeah, we can dress in all black, but nobody paints their fucking face black?
Yeah, yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, like, I was talking
to
my fraternity brothers today. Like, they were talking about, like, we do the same thing for Marshall games. Like, hold on. When we have a blackout, nobody paints their face black at a Marshall Stadium because they know it's fucking you can't do that. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, okay, so let's take back what I said earlier. Maybe because I could easily see somebody doing that and not meaning it to be a racist thing. It in itself is not racist, but it's a really fucking insensitive thing to do. Like, it's real shitty. And if you have any basic understanding of history, you would never fucking do that because of the negative connotation. Like. Yeah, that's
like some white kid that gets involved in rap and then suddenly thinks he gets to drop the hard end whenever.
Yeah, that's a great example. No, don't do that. No, dude, that's not cool. No.
But that's not what I meant. Doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, and the way I talked about it with my buddy Russ, he was like, "Yeah, we do blackouts all the time at Marshall." Like, yeah, I've been to those, but nobody paints their face black. Like, the school colors of Covington is white and blue. If every one of these kids was doused head to toe in blue paint, nobody would have said a fucking thing.
No.
And it wouldn't look like the kid on the right should run a plantation.
Yeah, the kid on the right, that I don't know, that's weird. I don't know. I maybe my real issue is that based on what I've read about these kids before, I don't think they're smart enough to have looked into what this could possibly mean. And I honestly think a lot of this entire situation is just a result of how polarized everything is right now and how quick to snap up something that can be used as a headline to insult the other side. Like, you find anything, you package it, you print it, you throw it out there, and you see what, and you can use it to damage the point of view you don't agree with. And it seems like these kids have gotten caught up in that machine. But having been said, they still went to that rally knowing that what they were doing would piss people off, and they were being dicks about it.
I can see that. I can see that too. Like, I actually have seen several people in my Facey Spaces and MySpace circles that have been like very like just fervently fighting for this. It's just like gutturally fighting for these kids, and I didn't understand it. And I sent out some messages to their family members that I knew more personally than I knew the people on my Facebook circle that were so butthurt about this. And I asked the question: is this a right-left issue, or is this a Catholic issue? Because for some reason, a lot of people are seeing this as some kind of attack against Catholics and Catholic schooling, and this is an auditory medium, so you guys can't see the face Shay just made, but it's basically what I'm getting. It's like, are you?
The only reason that's fucking stupid. The only reason that's a fact, or that's the case, I shouldn't say it's a fact. It's the situation. That's what I'm looking for. The only reason that is the situation, in my opinion, is because from the very moment this has hit the airwaves, the word Catholic high school basketball student or Catholic high school student has been used.
And I will say,
which I think is a poor choice on whoever originally was coming up with those titles. It should have just been high school student does insert dick thing, because hey, guess what? High school students are dicks.
Yeah, no, they're dicks. They're always going to be little dicks. And I kind of had the same point you just had. It's like, I don't really give a shit that these kids came from a Catholic high school.
I didn't even know that they were from a Catholic high school literally until today when I looked into it more. I was like,
and that's fine. Like everybody can be dicks. You can be dicks from a public school. You can be dicks.
I just know I don't like people in MAGA hats.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like there was this weird, and in a way, I get it. Listen, Shay, if you're, excuse me, people defend the groups and organizations that they are tied to and associated with. So let's say you're a Catholic right now, and this thing pops up. This is a thing that you might be able to win, and even if you can't win it, you're not gonna lose it. Or you could not lose it. You could win it, but you could just not lose it. Unlike the whole diddling thing as far as Catholics go. So like, as far as the Catholic religion goes, I say, I get it. They're swinging for the fences on this. So they're going to defend these kids to no end. And there's also another thing, like Catholic schools are generally private. They're generally, pay to play. Like, you got to pay to go in there. So, if you fuck with their money and or their reputation, they will end you. So, like, there's a lot of reasons why the Catholics as a whole would, like, stand up and go to bat for these kids. And that's fine. It's a free country, right, Shay? Like, everybody's got the First Amendment rights. But, like, I had so many people push back against me just for saying that these are entitled little shits. And I don't think it was a right-left thing. It was totally a Catholic, not Catholic thing. And I wasn't even pushing back because they're Catholic. Like, if you want to have the conversation about Catholic schools and how fucking I don't like you pulling my, you want your, if you want your, what the hell do they call it, school vouchers to send your kid to a Catholic school instead of the public schools, like, we'll have that argument. I will fucking tear you down on that argument, because not only are you, sending your kid to a school whose religion I don't quote-unquote believe in, but you're pulling money out of the local school system that I'm paying into regardless, and I don't even fucking have kids.
Yeah.
And, we can have that argument. It has absolutely nothing to do with you being Catholic whatsoever. It has to, we can have that argument, but these kids being shitheads has nothing to do with that argument. And I thought it was really funny that so many people dug their heels in just for that specific, like, small factoid of what just happened.
I'd be curious to know how the narrative of this entire story would be different if the fact that this was from Catholic high school wasn't in the news. Like, if nobody knew that, it was just a big group of kids. Like, if someone said local high school group organizes whatever, and eventually it would come out that it was a Catholic high school. But I'd love to see how the news would spin it differently.
Well, I can tell you right now. Let's say they sent 65 kids to the pro-life march from a public school.
Yeah,
and this shit happened.
Yeah,
and the narrative would be, the narrative would be, this is why we shouldn't fund public schools, because they're just, it'd be some attack on public schools. Yeah. It wouldn't be the fact that, like, wouldn't have any. Well, actually, I would have a lot to say about the fact you sent public school kids to a pro-life march, but that's just me. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people be like, well, that's what's wrong with public schools. That's why I don't send my kids there. Like, you read at a 4th grade level. Like, I don't really give a shit what you think. All right, we have gone. Okay, I would like to take a point and apologize to Katie Maddie, because we have gone way longer than she apparently says.
Fuck them.
At the podcast.
We can't end this without fucking talking about that compromise deal that Donnie gave a speech about on Saturday.
Oh, okay. So we gotta get. All right. So we
at least have to talk about it. We have to mention it. I think that we can't.
Then I'm gonna have to get some more beer.
Yeah, do it. That's fine.
All right. So we're gonna have a second pause. and we're gonna have a second pause in this podcast.
And at this point, you can stop listening if you want, but I refuse to let this episode go without talking about this.
All right. So I love you, Shay. We're going to call this second pause the Katie Maddie pause.
That's the Katie Maddie pause.
Katie Maddie pause. All right, everybody. We are back from the Katie Maddie pause. For those of you who have been keeping track at home, the second pause of the podcast is always the Katie Maddie pause.
Yep.
We just decided that right now.
Yep. And in the moment. I don't know. I feel like it's very important to talk about this speech that Donnie Moscow gave on Saturday.
Yeah, so I knew we were going to go long on Ghostbusters, because I knew you and I both give a shit about Ghostbusters, so we're going to...
I'm probably going to keep drinking and watch the first one after we get off of here.
Well, the last podcast we talked about, like, when we were, on our breaks, you mentioned, like, we were discussing the difference. Like, we brought up, I think Ben brought up Ready Player One.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the difference of the first Gundam as opposed to...
the Gundam Mecha Godzilla height difference.
Yeah. Right, yeah, we discussed that. So what did I do when we got off this podcast? I pounded a bunch of rum and watched Ready Player One, and I enjoyed my life to no end. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so what Shay is talking about is on Saturday the 19th, Donald Trump declared he was going to give a... Well, first of all, we are in the... Let me find myself on the fucking outline here. Oh, all right. We had a page break weirdness. So we are in the 30th day of the government shutdown as we record this podcast. You guys will hear it on the 31st day of the government shutdown. We have some funny little quips that have happened since then. Donald Trump canceled Nancy Pelosi's trip to Iraq and Afghanistan to visit the troops. He canceled her military plane. About 24 hours after that, he sent a military plane to take Melania back to Florida for vacation. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. Again, no big surprise in the Trump administration, but he did it out of spite. Like he canceled the military plane out of spite, and by announcing the fact that he canceled the military plane, he gave out the leader of the House, Speaker of the House's travel plans, and you never do that on the way to the, you never do that on the way to the war zone, an active war zone, because you just don't do that. Like, remember when everybody gave Donald Trump such awesome props for going and visiting the troops in Afghanistan? You didn't know about that until he landed for obvious fucking reasons. Like, you don't telegraph those kind of trips because they're huge fucking targets. I mean, Shay, what the fuck would happen if somebody were to actually capture the Speaker of the House?
I mean, I don't know. Has it ever happened before?
No, there hasn't been a general or a senator captured in over 100 years or something stupid like that. But it doesn't stop Ben Shapiro from writing really shitty books about it. But whatever. But yeah, so like Donald Trump did that out of spite. Then he gave a special presentation on Saturday. This is what Shay's talking about. Let me just go through the bullet points here, and then Shay, you can shit on it or agree as you feel like you should. We've got $5.7 billion to fund a steel barrier in priority areas along the border. You've got $675 million for increased drug detection technology at ports of entry. You've got $130 million for K-9 units training and more personnel. $800 million in humanitarian assistance at the border. $782 million for 2,750 additional border agents. 563 million to hire 75 new immigration judges, and 3 years of protections for 3 years of protection from deportation for certain undocumented immigrants. He's talking about DACA there. He just wants to say it. Shay and I talked offline, and our agreement is, our general consensus is, all that sounds fine. Just make the protections for the DACA recipients permanent, and we're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, this bugs the hell out of me, and this was something. It was one of those things that I hadn't even thought about. I was driving home, from some errands I ran today, and some random bullshit on the radio, and this guy had made this point, and it really is. I really want the Democrats to dig their heels in on this, because first of all, this is number one. Obviously this is the record. Anyone who follows this stuff has heard this. Donald Trump has already offered like 25 billion or whatever dollars to build his fucking wall if he would permanently accept the DACA kids, and he turned it down. So now we're saying it's like 5.7 for a temporary.
Point of fact. Why did he turn it down, Shay?
I honestly don't remember the details of that.
Well, he turned it down because he got heat from the Hannitys, the Limbaughs, and the Ann Coulters of the.
That is true. I do remember that. Yeah, he got a lot of flack from the conservative media talking heads for talking about accepting it.
Right. It's called in their book of words. It's called amnesty.
Amnesty. Yes, exactly. And even Ann Coulter had tweeted some bullshit about this most recent deal.
Right.
But the thing that really, the thing that really chaps my balls about this, and you'll see people, even on the left, you'll see people say, well, the Democrats should probably accept this deal. Otherwise, it looks like they're not willing to work with him. They should absolutely dig their heels in on this, because not only are the protections that he is saying he'd give them temporary instead of permanent, this is shit that was already in place before he was president.
Yeah,
so all he's saying is, if you give me this money, I'll make things kind of like they were already before.
Right.
You're welcome, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
That is fucking bullshit. And I know, and so far it seems like the Democratic Party understands this. The people that were elected into the House when the House took control were elected with the idea that we don't want them to cave on this. Like, if they came and said, "All right, here's the deal. We'll grant all these kids citizenship. We'll have a path to citizenship, and we'll get in. We can have money for the wall." I'd say, yeah, go for it. That's fine. Give more than $5 billion. I mean, give them 10, 15, 20. I don't care.
Well, that's. You're exactly correct, because one of the earlier deals was that he would give them. I always thought the number was 26. I looked it up the other day. It was $20 billion for his wall. If the protections for DACA recipients, which is the other word for that is dreamers. So whenever you hear DACA,
dreamers, DACA, same fucking thing.
And just to be a little bit more descriptive, DACA or dreamers are people who were brought to the United States as minors by their parents. So you might have been brought here to the United States by your mother or father when you were 5, and you've lived your entire life here as a United States citizen. And some of the DACA recipients did not know that they were undocumented until they tried to do things like get a driver's license. Exactly. Or, there's so many stories. You can just Google them. So many people were brought here when they were 1 or 2, and they were just raised as Americans. Like, their parents, yes, were from another country, usually Spanish-speaking countries, and they did not realize that they were undocumented until they tried to get a driver's license or apply for college, or just all these little things that people, Shay, like, how many times were you handed your Social Security card before you were 16?
Never.
Right, because you don't trust little kids with that shit, right? So,
nope.
The fact that somebody went to go apply for a driver's license and did not realize that they were undocumented is not like some kind of unicorn thing. So that's what DACA and Dreamers are. Democrats offered Donald Trump $20 billion for his fucking wall. What was it, like 2016, 2017? And the Senate and the House passed it. And Donald Trump refused to sign it because he got the same shit he was getting from Limbaugh and Hannity and Coulter and all those other fucksticks. And like Shay said, like, one of the points the Democrats have pointed out is like, why would they give him a permanent thing for temporary protection for DACA?
That's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure that the calculus on the right is, hey, we can't. They know that the Ann Coulter's basically. Well, let's just say this, because Ann Coulter represents these people, his base, that 35%.
Right.
It's not growing.
45%.
Yeah, 30, whatever it is. That's who he's pandering to, and those people would be pissed off if he just granted these kids citizenship for whatever reason. And they know that, but I'm really hoping the result is, that we get, $6 to $10 billion for border security. And again, just to say this, the wall and border security are not the same goddamn thing.
Right.
That's a false equivalency the GOP has been peddling for a while now. In exchange for permanent protections. That's fucking great. That's fair. That is a reasonable compromise.
Right.
Like, come on, people. Let's be real here. $10 billion in the scheme of the budget is goddamn nothing. In 700,000 people in the scheme of the entire population of the United States is not fucking nothing. And let's be clear, most of those people they're talking about are already goddamn taxpayers, even though they're not fucking citizens. So pull your heads out of your asses and make a compromise.
Yeah, they're and the argument you're going to hear people is like, we're paying for their health care. It's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Shut the fuck
actually,
up.
you already are. Yeah, you are. You already are, because these people can't get health insurance, so they go to the ER, and they you pay for that regardless. Like, that's the thing. I'm totally with you. Like, if I was Nancy Pelosi, and you and I have our resignations about Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, because we need new leadership, we need new Democrats, we need new fucking legislators as a whole, across the board, Democrat and Republican.
Yeah.
They're all fucking old. They're all fucking millionaires. Fuck them. They need to be swapped out. And yes, the slow march of time will eventually, drum them out of the House and the Senate.
I mean, not to sound like a dick, but it's not so slow of a march of time. Like a 10 to 15 years at this point. These old motherfuckers.
And I heard there was this one tweet that, like, it was really fucking funny. Like this conservative like pundit was like talking about, because of course OAC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has like totally like lit a fire under all these Republican asses because A, she's a very left Democratic congresswoman who is A, very attractive, and B, gives no shit what they think. Like,
no.
These men that are criticizing OAC are used to women that look like her deferring to them because of their power and status. And she doesn't. She doesn't defer to them because of their power and status. And so they have this really weird boner they don't know what to do anything about. And
that is so accurate.
Yeah, no, like, it's so accurate because if you watch all the comments that the House Republicans or House Senators have made about that video about her dancing when she was in college, they're like, oh my gosh, she looks so hot. I wish she didn't have, like, such weird political stances. And they're like, oh my god, I can't stop beating off to her because, oh my god, what, she's so, like there's this like thirst there that they can't deal with. Like
I am so mad because this chick is not white. She's hot. She won the election, and she says shit that people agree with. What do I do with this? I don't understand.
Yeah, like I want her to have sex with me, but she won't like answer my phone calls. This has never happened to me in my 80 years of life. Like it's so funny. But yeah, they're like somebody posted a picture of her like doing something, and they're like, do we really want more millennials in the Congress? And like the first comment was, well, politically
physically
speaking,
there's no way around it. People die.
And like the first comment was, it's like, based on my understanding of the continuity of time, like, how time continues in one direction, that's the only way we're gonna get here. Like there's no other option.
That's the only way to replace the people that are gonna die soon. Yeah.
Like, what generation of people would you like us to replace them with? Yeah.
Listen, Justin, I like to think of myself as an expert on the linear flow of time because I am unemployed and I've watched a lot of Doctor Who in the last week, so I know what I'm talking about when I say those people are going to age and they're going to die soon. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It really cracks my shit up. Like, honestly, I understand why people on the left love throwing Cortez's shit up because it's just funny because she's very clearly somebody close to age to us who just understands that what she really the core of it is she understands that the people who are going to be controlling the country in the next 10 to let's be generous, 15 to 20 years are her age group and not Mitch McConnell, and they're going to respond to how she speaks to them. And And it's hilarious to see her do that, because the impression I get is that she's going to do her best at her job, but in the meantime, she doesn't really seem to care too much about what anybody thinks or how it turns out. She's like, all right, I've been elected for this term. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to say what I want to say. And the fact that she is
for those exact reasons. So,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
she's
like,
not.
Why would she play it safe now?
No, exactly. Like, I don't understand how all these people who, like, let me put it this way. This is what I'm trying to articulate. It is hilarious that the same people who wear those, the same people complaining about her are probably the same ones that wore those shirts in 2016 that said Trump fuck your feelings.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And it pisses them off because she's young, she's not white, she's a woman, she's very attractive, and she's also very intelligent. So she hits all those check boxes of things that really just chap the asshole of some super.
Well, like, we didn't talk about this much, but like, a couple weeks ago they shared Q Anonymous, like the QAnon or whatever Twitter page.
I haven't heard much from those dill holes in a while. I'll have to do some Googling.
Well, yeah. But they shared that video of her, excuse me, dancing as a college project, and it was her and several other people in a theater. I'm probably glossing over some facts here, but it was like they basically recreated the dance sequence in Breakfast Club.
Yes, I understand why they're so mad, because she was disgustingly adorable.
Exactly, and so there's all these college kids dancing around.
You won't find any videos of Donald Trump dancing that make people go, "Aww."
Yeah. There's probably a lot of people. Yeah, there's probably a lot of people that would see Donald Trump dancing going, "Ooh." Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like, all these, and the funny thing, and you kind of said it, is she's speaking to her constituents the way she wants to speak to her constituents, and she was elected the way she was elected, so she doesn't feel like she has to backpedal right now. Like a lot of Democratic senators, like, will have to tack to the right to win a primary, and then tack to the left to win, blah blah blah. And once they get in Congress or the Senate, they got to toe a certain line. She was literally elected to be a fresh face in Congress, so the fact that she's a fresh face in Congress isn't some kind of like shocking news, except to the people like fucking the minority speaker of the House. Like, he's just like, why is this bitch dancing? Like, she should sit and put her hands quietly in her lap and then do shit that I say. Like, no, that's not how this works now.
Have you given any thought to how funny?
Hold on, but what you just said, like, we've got, 15 or 20 years before we're going to re-out a new Congress? Yeah. So, imagine OAC 15 years from now. She'll be the Nancy Pelosi of her generation.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Like, she'll be
assuming
there.
She sticks with politics, yeah.
Yeah, she'll be there. She'll know how the ins and outs of the shit work. She'll know how to talk to the current generation of voting public. She'll be like, hey, listen, I'm going to blowhole this, because Snapchat will be, obsolete by then. It'll be a holographic thing where you just, like, wink at it, and it'll, I don't know. Who fucking gives shit? It'll be dumb. But, like, she will know how to relate to her constituency better than these guys that are, like Marco Rubio is, 35, 40 right now? Like, like, he will be so fucking out of touch in 20 years. It's not even funny. Because he's kind of out of touch now.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a caricature of a man that's running for Congress.
I don't know. The thing that I think that's funny about her is, and what I wanted to say is, have you thought about the parallels between her and Donald Trump? And I know that sounds silly, but like,
well, no,
you've got somebody who is not a political alumni. She's kind of an outsider. Donald Trump was an outsider. People liked Donald Trump because he, quote, told it like it was, and then she's calling Donald Trump a motherfucker. No,
that's not OAC. That wasn't.
That
was a different.
But I mean, it still holds true, because she's kind of there's a who the fuck was it that said that?
I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, but there's a lot of parallels between the two, and I think that's
Rashida Tlaib.
That's it. Okay. They both have really crazy names, and I confuse them.
Just for a point of fact, the last podcast I kept saying to Lucy Gabbard, and her name is Tulsi Gabbard, so that was on me.
Dude, the constant bombardment of representative names that aren't my representatives locally comes at me so fast I can't keep them straight. But I think the analogy still holds true. They're both political outsiders. They're both saying shit that that their base wants to hear. But they're at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Donald Trump is speaking to a base that is really out of touch and represents the 50s, and she's speaking to a base that is more modern. And I think that's kind of the weird yin and yang of that is kind of what scares conservatives so much about her, because she's kind of like Donald Trump with her political trajectory, came out of nowhere, and is very different from the establishment, but they're just opposite ends of the spectrum. Old also, and very disgusting, young, not disgusting and intelligent, and the other one's stupid and old. So it's really funny.
I was also, speaking of old and disgusting, I was listening to Chapo's Trap House, which is one of my favorite podcasts now, because they consider themselves the dirtbag left, but what they do better than anybody really is fire shots across the bow of both sides. Like, they're not afraid to like fuck up Democrats and fuck up Republicans at the same time. But when they're doing it, it's not just like, okay, Ben Shapiro's a little twit, and then move on. Like, they'll be like, Ben Shapiro's a little twit. Why don't we read and discuss 3 chapters of his shitty-ass book? Like, they drill way down on why you should hate Ben Shapiro and everything he says or does. And I respect that. And one of the things they were talking about was, like, imagine what it's like to touch or be near Donald Trump. Like, his physical persona is probably... like, it's all fast food, right? So his body has to smell bad.
Listen, man, and here's the thing. Like, I don't want to be, and I got to interrupt you. I don't want to be, I do my best not to be a hypocrite. And if I'm going to be a hypocrite, I'll tell you I'm going to be a hypocrite up front. And I tell you, I sure do love fast food. And that's like the only thing I identify with him on. I have a real problem. Like, the only way you're going to get me into the White House to have a meeting with Donald Trump is if you said, hey, Shay, come talk to Donald Trump about his policies. I'm not going to do that. What if I told you it was all you could eat Big Macs? What time do I get there?
Well, and it's funny you said that, because that was one of Chapo's, Matt Christman was like, listen, if I was ever going to sit down with him, it would be over some fast food, because I could hit down on that too. But I would just be eating it, looking at him, going, "This is fucked up. You're a dick, right?" But
yep.
But yeah. So, but also, like, you were talking about the dichotomy between OAC and Donald Trump. Like, think about the dichotomy between OAC and who was also just elected in this term on the Republican side. Like, I believe one of the Republican congressmen, he was the one that was shot in that shooting incident. I'm gonna fuck his name up. I'm gonna say Sarkozia, but that's not right. But he just did I'm gonna Google it now while I talk. But he just did an article where he just made a statement in an article where he said that it's Nancy Pelosi's fault that the GOP is all white and all male. Like, their side of the aisle is all white and all male because of Nancy Pelosi's fault somehow. Steve Scalise, that's what I was thinking about. Steve Scalise.
Yeah, Steve Scalise. That guy's great.
Yeah, Steve Scalise just said, like, just the other day, he was like, well, the reason that the Republican side of Congress is all white and all male is because of Nancy Pelosi. And everybody's like, the fuck? Like, the fact that you guys don't recruit, run, or vote for anybody that's not a white male has nothing fucking to do with the Democratic Party.
No.
So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Dale said to Roy that the Democratic Party has said that Donald Trump's proposal was a non-starter from the word go. It was basically this whole thing about protection for the Dreamers was called amnesty by Rush Limbaugh, Ann Coulter, and Steve King, noted racist.
Yeah.
And so the The thought is that it was a non-starter so that Donald Trump could put this out. Like, here's the word on the street. The word on the street that I've read from several articles is that this was not a proposal by Donald Trump. It was a proposal by Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell gave this to the president to put it out. The 3-year protection for the Dreamers would cause all the right-wing pundits to say amnesty, which they did.
Yep.
Then the right wing would reject it. The left wing, the Democrats would reject it as well because, like we said before, they don't want a permanent thing for temporary protections. And this would pave the way for Donald Trump to declare a national emergency and do what he wanted to.
There it is.
What are your thoughts on that, Shay?
That sounds about right. I mean, well, let's put it this way. I can't imagine. Okay, so I could see Donald Trump believing this, but anyone that works for him that has half a brain in their asshole, I just don't think anybody on the right let me rephrase this. The people who gave this proposal to Donald Trump, because I highly doubt he came up with it on his own, I don't feel like it was designed knowing the Democrats would accept it. Let's put it that way. Like, yeah. Ideally, my guess would be like it was designed knowing that they would deny it, and they can try to say, "See, look, the Democrats won't work with us." But I haven't seen the Democrats put a counteroffer on the table yet either. So ideally, you would think this is the start of a bargaining position. Like, okay, I want to give you this. Okay, great. Well, no, I don't want that, but we're going to do this, and you go back and forth because that's how bargaining works. So I don't really know. I don't feel like it was proposed knowing the Democrats would accept. It was proposed knowing they wouldn't accept it, and that may be so that he can declare a state of emergency and get his stupid bullshit. I just don't know how that's going to play out. Like, I know his base is going to love it because they're going to see it as him undercutting the establishment. Anybody that understands how our government works is going to be horrified by the precedent that's going to set, because, hey, guess what's going to happen as soon as you get a Democratic president? They're going to declare a state of emergency and just give DACA residents all they want, or they're going to declare a state of I think we even talked about this last time, or declare a state of emergency and take all your fucking guns. Like, that's not a precedent we want to set. You need to go through Congress. You need to do this the way it's supposed to.
That's of course the Sean Hannity fever dream, is that they declare a state of emergency and take all your guns, which is, first of all, the Democrats have never made any steps in that direction.
No. I'm again, the word of the evening is hyperbolic. I'm being hyperbolic, but like, let's put it this on paper. If you're gonna tell me, if you're gonna put the stats on the table and you're gonna say, okay, Shay, this is how many people die each year because of gun violence. This is how many people immigrate illegally each year. Which one of these is actually an emergency? Well, I'm going to understand that logic. Like, the gun violence thing is a state of emergency. Like, right. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's not a precedent you want to fucking set. That's fucking shitty.
Right. And like, Lou Dobbs had Mo Brooks on. Those of you who are not familiar who Mo Brooks is, he's a senator from Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. And he was on Lou Dobbs, and Lou Dobbs said, that's back when we said the quote like that. Lou Dobbs said that Donald Trump should declare a national emergency, sweep the incalcitrant left off the table, and just do what he wanted to do. And Mo Brooks pushed real hard against that because, like you said, Mo Brooks realizes that the next president might not be a fucking Republican. And there's a lot more data on the table to support the fact that climate change is an issue than this.
Oh man, can you imagine a state of emergency where the U.S. government tells auto manufacturers they're not allowed to produce internal combustion engines,
tell coal factories to go fuck themselves?
Which sounds crazy, but the Chinese government is already researching that. They don't know when they're going to do it. But the Chinese government is looking into setting limits and saying, like, okay, after X number of, like, after a certain year, you are not allowed to you're not allowed to make gasoline engines. You have to make only electric cars. Like, this is not too far outside the realm of possibility. So, and here's the thing, like, on an ethical standpoint, would I agree with the government saying, hey, climate change is a problem. You're not allowed to make gasoline engines anymore. Everything has to be renewable energy cars or whatever. Yeah, the hippie in me would probably agree with that. But, like, the person in me that understands how government and commerce works, that would be fucking terrible. I could see some jackass president trying that bullshit. And for the record, I would not be okay with that. And
Well,
that, again, don't open those floodgates. Just don't do
right.
it. Just don't fucking do it.
And let's be very clear. National emergency powers give Donald Trump not like unlimited power to spend money. What it does give him, it gives him powers to pull money from different departments to where he sees it fit to spend it under a national emergency. I'd also like to point out that we're under something like 32 current national emergencies, so this is this is not a new thing. This is like Shay and I sending up a flare every time we're drunk. Like, you just get tired of seeing the flares. You really will.
I'm unemployed, Justin. I can't afford that many flares.
I got to go to work tomorrow, and I'm currently deciding whether I'm going to quote unquote work from home or actually go in. Yeah.
I've had several jobs that let me work from home, and you always have to quote unquote work from home.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, you have to, like, you don't want to set this precedent and declaring a national emergency, which, like, several Republican commenters have told Donald Trump just to do. It only allows him to pull money from certain places to pay for his quote-unquote wall. And the places he would pull it from would be, apparently, Texas and Puerto Rico's disaster relief funds. Which,
Jesus Christ, seriously?
Right. Yeah, oh yeah, he could just yank all that money from there and just dump it right in a wall. Ted Cruz has already expressed, like, oh my God, please don't fucking do that sentiments, because there's no way for Ted Cruz to argue against it. Like, if Donald Trump did that, there's no way for Ted Cruz, as a senator from Texas, who is supposed to be defending the biggest border ever, for fuck's sake, to say, like, please don't take this money that I need to rebuild Houston to defend the American people. Like, there's no way that works out for Ted Cruz. So he is fucking, his nuts are up inside him right now. The other fact that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about Puerto Rico is blatantly evident, that there were, what's the number? 5,000 people that died?
I couldn't tell you, because that is not in the news anymore, which is horrifying. I don't even know what's going on in Puerto Rico right now.
Right, and that's the point. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about Puerto Rico, and he says, yeah, let's just yank all that money. Let's say it, like, in real time. Puerto Rico that told.
Click, 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 click.
Click, click, click. Hey, you have the loudest keyboard.
Hey, listen, mechanical keyboard for the win, baby. How long has this been so far?
I don't know. It's like 2.5 hours.
That's fine.
Oh, okay. So it went from 64 to 2,975 people.
Okay. That's a bit of a jump.
Bit of a spike.
Yes. So
that is our problem. Is that Donald Trump thinks that he can just pull money from there and nobody will give a shit, because nobody will give a shit. And so the pathway to a government reopening is the Democrats tell him to fuck off unless he gives them permanent DACA protections. Donald Trump says, I can't do that because Ann Coulter will come in here and kick me in the taint. And then he declares a national emergency and then starts yanking money from the different departments he can. As soon as he declares a national emergency, that will be kicked into the courts and will run its way up to the Supreme Court. I guarantee you it'll be filed in the Ninth Circuit Court. Excuse me. Which is Washington and what Sean Hannity calls the liberal court. And we'll see what happens when it gets to the Supreme Court. I honestly don't think that Donald Trump's chances at the Supreme Court will be very good, because the people that are there and that he has supported are quote-unquote conservatives. And I don't think they believe that this huge expansion of the executive powers like that would be, a thing that they... Like you said, how can they support that? But they called Barack Obama a tyrant forever. And I'm sure they'll call the next Democratic president a tyrant if he did anything similar.
Yeah, it's... I mean, again, that's I try not to get into that whataboutism shit, but it's super hard not to sometimes, especially with shit like this. Because I mean, if a Democratic president had well, I don't know, like, declare a national emergency and fund birth control for gay people or whatever it would be, they would be freaking the fuck out. So, it's very, very frustrating. We'll see how it goes. I honestly think he's trying to avoid it. I honestly think.
Well, he's tried like 3 or 4 times now to avoid it.
Yeah, because I here's what I think happened. I think realistically, I think it was one of those things that Donald Trump just set off the cuff. Would just happen to be technically correct. It's something he's able to do. But if he had run that statement by his advisors, they'd have said, "Oh God, no, please don't say that." And he may have done it anyway. But I feel like it was something he set off the cuff, and now it's just become a thing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. This is definitely a time will tell situation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We are. Just as we've said, there are 800,000 people that are not getting paid. It's the Donald Trump presidency is kind of rubbing up against that hard place.
Yeah.
He's the rock. There's a hard place. This is actually really wearing on what Donald Trump really hangs his hat on, which is the U.S. economy. And he has always said like the stock market and GDP is the thing. GDP, I'm sorry, is the thing that he is most known for and things he's so awesome about. But as we sit here right now, Monday the 21st, if this goes till this coming Friday the 25th, it will have already cost $7 billion to the U.S. economy for the $6 billion wall that Donald Trump asked for. I believe the last estimate I saw was that it's shaving off 0.05% of the GDP every week that this happens. So Donald Trump's, Sean Hannity's fever dream and Donald Trump's estimates of, Donald Trump's at like 4 or 5% GDP growth if you just let him do it. Well, that's not happening. The last time I ran the numbers based on first, second, and third quarter growth, if they had a GDP growth of at least 2%, like 2.5% or something very reasonable for fourth quarter of 2018, he would have hit an annual GDP growth of over 3% that Barack Obama always came shy of. And Sean Hannity would literally masturbate live on Fox News. But if they keep this shit, there's a lot of talk that he has basically shaved off 0.5% of GDP growth, and that could really fuck it.
Like
what would happen if GDP growth for the fourth quarter is usually announced like Marchish, so like end of February they're like, yeah, GDP growth was 1.5%. You fucked yourself.
Yeah. Again, time will tell. I'll be. The real interesting thing is going to be to see. And I hate to use the word interesting, but that's really the only thing to say is that when you're looking at so this is the longest shutdown in history, and Donnie Moscow is on record saying months or years if he needs to, which I don't believe the years thing, but I do believe the months thing. So. And I only say I don't believe years because I really do think that if it got to that point, I think the government would reopen in spite of him.
Well, I think if you got past, I think if we're talking like February, if we get to my birthday, end of April kind of like nonsense, Mitch McConnell can't sustain that and also Donald Trump can't because he's going into a re-election. Like you got Democratic candidates coming out of the fucking woodwork that we haven't talked about, and then
they get to say stuff like, "What do you mean you're a good president? You haven't run the government in months.
Exactly.
Like, what are you fucking doing all day?" And that's going to resonate with people. But my point is
what you'll come up with is a 60 some vote majority in the Senate, and they'll just open the government with a veto-proof majority. And he's got to deal with it.
But the interesting thing is what's going to happen when the government isn't open anymore, and federal employees who supported him have mortgages to pay, and there are a lot of banks that are doing 2 or 3 month extension on mortgages. In and I'm not saying there's enough people out there. Like, I'm not saying that there's so many supporters that are federal employees that if they decide to change their vote, it's going to be a difference. But there's going to be enough of those people that like default on their mortgages if this keeps going that supported him that they're going to end up in the headlines. Like, that's going to be like, people are already looking for it, and it's going to look bad. Like, and it's not going to be good. So
you're right. I believe you're right. I believe there are a percentage of his of that. 35 to 45% of his, staunch supporters that we talked about in the podcast that will be severely hurt. And you can Google some of those articles. They're all kind of anecdotal. They're not like a percentage.
Well, nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's nothing hard yet. So, but there is noise out there of like, why are you doing this? We support you. This,
Yeah. Well, what I'm talking about is how, and this is a better way to phrase it, to distill it down. How long until you have a person or two who goes to the media because they're pissed off and says, I voted for Donald Trump, I'm a federal employee, and I just defaulted on my mortgage because the government's not open and I haven't been paid in 4 months. It's not going to take more than one or two of those people to really give a bad PR spin to it, and that's going to hurt a lot.
I don't think it'll hurt as much as you think, because there's already people that have said that same thing. They haven't said that they defaulted on their mortgage. They've said, I'm a Trump supporter, and this shutdown is hurting me in X, Y, and Z ways. That interview is already out there. You can Google that.
I'm not talking about just interviews. I'm talking about media friends.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about how long until there's one specific person who has a very tragic story that gets blown up a lot, like the kid messing with the protester, so
or
that's what I'm saying. Because there hasn't, something to go viral. There hasn't been anything like that yet. And
I'll tell you what the other breaking point is, and I think you're right. I think if something like that were to go viral, if
it keeps going long enough, I think that's only a matter of time. And I think
I think you're right.
Know that as well.
I think the thing that's gonna trickle up and maybe kind of
Justin
percolate
pouring a beverage. I can hear it.
What's that?
Justin's pouring a beverage. I can hear it.
Yeah. The thing that's going to percolate up faster and be the harder hammer strike on this shutdown is if something like TSA were to strike. Because right now TSA has been working for 31 days without pay. We've seen all these stories that a lot of them are calling off sick because they're taking second jobs to pay their bills. The federal government has told them a lot of helpful things like, why don't you offer your landlord your services, because everybody knows that Bank of America will be totally cool if you just walk in and build them some shelves.
Yep.
So there's been all these tone deaf ass letters that come from the federal government. But TSA is considered, for obvious fucking reasons, essential personnel. So, you can't just take all of the security people out of Chicago O'Hare Airport and assume that everything's going to be fucking okay. Right after, all of these call-offs, there was that article that was shared that, and I shared it. It was fucking hilarious. Some guy got on a plane in, I want to say it was Reagan. I think it was DC's airport, and flew to Tokyo with a fucking loaded gun in his carry-on.
Yep.
So, if you want to be in a 90s action flick, that's how you end up in a 90s action flick. People being able to just carry fucking guns on your carry-on. And these TSA workers are, they're downtrodden and just shit on by the American public when they're paid. Now they're going on 31 days of not being paid. So it would literally take a strike of these guys to just, that would be the trigger, in my opinion.
Yeah. I guess
I'm
really
kind
what
of
I'm
wondering
getting at
why they haven't striked. I understand that they are essential personnel, but I also
they strike? I mean, do they have a union?
They're a union. Yeah, they're a union.
That's interesting.
So that's the thing.
That's real. Well, that's different though. That's not like
it's a national security issue. I'm sure there's a codicil in their union contract that says that the fact that they are a security, that's security bullshit, blah blah blah. But if I'm their union rep, and this is going on, the second they miss a paycheck, I'm calling for a strike vote. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm calling for a strike vote. And that would put the pressure on both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump to fucking do something. Because, like, hey, listen, motherfuckers, I got to vote. And I would just keep, like, posting the vote counts on Twitter. And I would have a vote every day that these cats weren't getting paid until, like, and that would be funny to watch the TSA, like, strike vote come closer to, like, passing. Let's say it's like 60-40. It's like 55-45.
Yeah.
And Mitch McConnell's like, that's going to fuck us really, really hard.
Yep.
All right. I think we're done talking.
That's probably good.
I'm pretty drunk.
I'm pretty drunk too, Justin. Yep.
All right. So, for those of you listening at home, we would like
Jesus
to
Christ, first of all, why are you still listening?
yeah. That's a good point. All right, so to Rachel Woods and Katie Maddie, Shay and I would like to apologize, or at least I would like to apologize.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't you speak for me. I regret nothing. You guys can go fuck yourself. Get a longer attention span.
Yeah. Buy a pause bed.
Yeah.
So, Shay and I have, I'm on my third pitcher of beer. I just finished my third pitcher of beer. I have no clue how much Shay is down.
I am out of whiskey and 4 or 5 beers in.
All right. So we've gone for almost 3 hours now. It'll be a little bit less than that when I shave it off. But for the record, we enjoy doing this, don't we, Shay?
Sure do.
I mean, we wouldn't do it for 2.5 hours if we didn't enjoy doing it. So we actually appreciate anybody and everybody who will sit through this conversation with us because we have fun. We hope you have fun. I guess in a perfect world, all of our listeners could come, like, drink with us, Shay. That would be what we could do.
Oh, man, all, like, 15 of them or whatever.
Yeah, it's like 17 people. Like, when I win the lottery, we'll buy a bar, and they can all come listen to us.
To be fair, the bar that I hang out at, there are a handful of people there that do listen to it every week, and I actively get bitched at if there's not new episodes that I'm on.
Really?
So, y'all, it's no more than 2 or 3 people. That's no more. But yeah, that's a thing.
That's more than bitch at me.
Yeah, that's true, and that's more than the fans that are listening to Alex Jones on iTunes. Oh, yeah, it's a thing.
Hey, we're building. I mean,
we're building an empire.
We are going to build a somewhat alcoholic media empire.
Yeah, I'm going to call it a popsicle sticks and bubblegum empire. That's what supports it. Yeah.
That'll work. I mean, come on. What is it? Abe Lincoln's Top Hat has been going on for like 9 years, and I don't think.
Thank you for listening to the Woodscast, where we recommend other podcasts to listen to instead of our own.
We do that a lot, actually.
We do.
That's fine. We're not. When we get into Patreon, we'll stop doing that.
Yep.
All right, so. Again, we appreciate everybody listening. If you have a question, you can hit us up on. You should be able to find our podcast anywhere you find your podcasts.
Not InfoWars, though.
Yeah. You can find us a lot of places you can't find InfoWars. But SoundCloud, Google Drive, iTunes, all YouTube. We're all over that shit that Alex Jones cannot touch. But if you have a question, comment, and want to bitch at us, hit us up on Twitter. It's It's at Woodscast and then on Facebook, like or send us a comment on it's Woodscast 1776, and shoot us an email if you got a question, comment, or just want to say that we're absolutely ignorant. It's thewoodscast1776 at gmail.com. Why do we use that, Shay?
I don't know. Why do we use? What's up?
Fuck Alex Jones.
Oh, fuck Alex Jones, yeah.
Because when he's taken off the air, we will still be 1776. We'll take all of his liberty movement bullshit.
Oh, it'll be great.
They're too dumb.
Tactical baths.
Yeah, we're gonna have tactical butt wipes and fucking. We won't use iodine. We'll use vitamin C drops. That's what we'll do. They won't know the difference. They're dumb.
It's fine.
All right. Well, Shay, say goodnight to the nice people.
Toodles.
What's the time? Tap it, move, 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 tap it.